Once more with feeling. I believe the stream is properly enabled. I was wondering if I've been trying to like keep the amount of time in terms of fiddling with the early material to a minimum. It does seem to be that I'm getting a mic feed now, which is good. I'm gonna take a little bit just to verify that that's still going on. There's also a lot of stuff that's loading on my computer right now because I had to do a proper full restart, and there was like a Windows update. So there may be some drop. Trying to like keep the amount of time in terms of fiddling with the early material to a minimum. It does seem to be that I'm getting a mic feed now, which is good. I'm gonna take a little bit. I really hate hearing my voice. At least I know the stream's working, so sorry about that. Okay, we are slowly repairing things. It's a shame. I know there were a bunch of you at the start, and I apologize. Well, I mean, I suspect everybody's gone now, but I always hate it when there are people in here early at the start, and then I have technical problems. But we're here. We're ready to go. The frame drops should stop in a little bit. I'm going to take a quick second here to clean up my VODs, because if I don't, they're just going to be on there forever. And I have actually uploaded them to... I've uploaded them to YouTube like an idiot, potentially setting the stage for me losing episodes. But we are ready to go with Phantom Brigade now. So, welcome again. Thank you for stopping by. More importantly, thank you for sticking with me while I get myself sorted out. We're going to be, I think I said it already, but we are going to be playing Phantom Brigade tonight, and I'll get the disclosure out of the way because I'm going to forget it otherwise. I have been given a copy of this game from Brace Yourself for promotional purposes. Obviously, I'm a big fan of it, and I'm a big fan of Brace Yourself. But it's important to kind of be proactive in terms of those disclosures and make sure they get done. And I've noticed whenever I have sort of a bumpy start to a stream, I tend to forget to say that sort of stuff. So hopefully you will find Phantom Brigade as entertaining as I do, and that I'm being overly cautious in terms of disclosing it. But I think the feeling is that if you're broadcasting a game, it's sort of this implicit endorsement of it. And of course, I was given a key specifically so that I can, so that I can play it online. And of course, if you, I question the assumption that playing a game is an endorsement of it, because I've seen more than a few streams dedicated to, let's say, an uncharitable encounter with a given game, but not really my place to say one way or the other. It's my job to comply with the regulations. A couple of bits of news that I wanted to get out of the way before I jump into the game, and that's just because once I jump into the game, that's sort of a point of no return as far as some stuff on my desktop right now. There, I believe, is another set of Steam tests, and I think the plan is to have the Steam tests be larger for the second round. So they are sort of ramping up to get Phantom Brigade in a 1.0 version. For those of you who were here last week when we did Industries of Titan, you noticed that not only is there a DLC for Crypt of the Necrodancer, but they teased a follow-up game called Rift of the Necrodancer. And so I have to have a feeling that Brace Yourself is probably thinking in terms of what kind of resources they want to allocate towards all of their different projects. And I don't have any inside information on this, but I have a suspicion that there are other games that are being developed which are not being talked about yet. And I mention this just simply because, and I'll make this a fun game for you because honestly, you should all be following these people anyway. But if you take a look, there are some changes in terms of different roles. Obviously, Brace Yourself has also been hiring, but you'll notice that some people have sort of changed their job titles, and there may not necessarily be a game that they're attached to, or if they don't have a specifically specified game, or a game that was sort of said an unspecified game has not been updated to something like Rift of the Necrodancer. So now with that in mind, there is a reason why stuff doesn't get announced ahead of time. There's no guarantee that these games will ever see the light of day. And in fact, I got to see a screenshot. I can't remember where I saw it. I think it was a blog somewhere of the early version of what Industries of Titan looked like. It's very, very different from the game that they were playing last week. And I think one of the reasons people do things like that is to find out whether or not the idea works. So, there's some value in not having too open of a commitment to something that people might be excited by as an idea, only to sort of find out that it isn't very feasible. But one way or the other, it does look like we're going to be getting 1.0 versions of Industries of Titan and Phantom Brigade fairly soon. And at least as far as Phantom Brigade is concerned, that's going to be the first time it's been available on Steam. So in, I guess it was the start of July, there was a first round of Phantom Brigade playtests. I don't know when the next batch is going to be, but I believe there will be a larger second round that happens. And then I'm noticing in the Discord that there's mention of an August Tactical Tuesday. So that might be next week. So maybe there will be an update for us to play around with. But one way or the other, if you would like to help test Phantom Brigade on Steam, particularly if you haven't played the game and perhaps that's something that you'd like to try, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to make sure that you're inside the Discord so that you can be informed about it. And of course, more importantly, I hope that you're not just playing this stuff, but you are engaging with, Phantom Brigade and helping them make the best game that they can. So that's the disclosures out of the way. I'm going to do my best to do a full stream tonight, but I have lost a bit of time in terms of getting all of the technical hurdles dealt with. And I'm almost at the point where I can sort of say I've caught up with some of the stuff that I wanted to do. So if I can get an earlier bedtime tonight, that makes me sound like a million years old, but I can probably set some of that. Can probably set some of the like some of the later starts brought on by all the other stuff I need to catch up on. I can put those in the rearview mirror and be a little more regular in terms of the streams. Anyways, we're almost 10 minutes in, which I guess is short for my usual intros, but we are ready for Phantom Brigade. It's just going to take a minute to load. And just a reminder, this is the experimental branch that we're playing, so it is quite possible that there have been some changes since we've last run into Phantom Brigade. We may actually be getting a preview of some of the things that will be appearing in the next update. I think that will be true for Industries of Titan as well next time we do that. In the meantime, I will say I hope you're all doing well. Sorry, this is a little funny to just try and fill the silence in between, but if I can tonight, I'm actually hoping to finish sort of the last library book I've got signed out. There's one more I need to pick up, but if I can do that, I've got a wide open road in terms of reading material, which means I can finally get back to some fiction. Finally read some fiction. I can't remember the last time I've done that. I see the Phantom Brigade icon. I'm not 100% sure what's taking so long, but it might be, come to think of it, I don't think I put it on my solid state. Early Access, welcome to the Brigade. We're excited for you to experience Phantom Brigade and to have your help shaping its development during its early access period. During the course of development, some aspects of the game might feel rough, sparse, or buggy. Every month we'll release a major update, which will include bug fixes, new features, and quality of life improvements for players. We appreciate your patience and feedback throughout the process as we work to deliver the most important features and fixes. From the main menu, check out our Early Access roadmap to see what's coming next for Phantom Brigade. Reach out to us via the Brace Yourself Games Discord community or read the latest patch notes for the latest changes and known issues. Thank you for joining us on our journey. We look forward to making Phantom Brigade better with your help. Seizure warning. A very small percentage of people may experience a seizure when exposed to certain visual images, including flashing lights or visual patterns. These seizures may have a variety of symptoms, including lightheadedness, altered vision, eye or face twitching, jerking or shaking of arms or legs, disorientation, confusion, or momentary loss of awareness. Immediately stop playing and consult a doctor if you experience any of these symptoms. If you or any of your relatives have a history of seizures or epilepsy, it is recommended that you consult a doctor before playing. Obviously, that disclosure about the updates is a little dated. Let's just take a quick look at the roadmap. I don't think it'll be that different, but yeah. So we're currently in Steam playtest land. I think they were saying that they were going to be working on some pilots. I'm not sure. But I don't think there's anything new in this document since we last looked at it. So I just want to double check. I did get a new... It's not the main monitor, but I noticed on a couple of games adding the secondary monitor messed around with some of the settings. I genuinely don't remember. Oh, actually, sorry, it says controls jagged edge removal from images. TAA has high performance cost but delivers better results for the game. This game. SMA has low performance cost but cannot fix anti-aliasing from subpixel detail. Yeah, that's, I don't think we've needed to worry about performance problems. So, over a month since we played this. It definitely felt like a long time. Oh, that's right. We were in the middle of a big fight. So, now I think I had a bit of a game plan in terms of how I was going to handle this. I think I was going to go here, and then kind of move back. We're working on a mech frame, but I don't think there's a need... Well, there's not a need to finish the mech frame, but there is a need for me to finish the repairs, so... We'll cruise. And we'll speed up when we can. Oh, they're running. Charge! Oh, come on! There we go. Gear up. At your order, the base flies into action and prepares for a fight. An engineer sprints towards the bay to check on the guns, passing a scout relaying combat data through the radio. There's shouting everywhere. At your side, someone's leg bounces up and down, boot heel tapping on the grate. You feel eyes on you, awaiting your command. Suit up. So it has been a while since we've worked with this team, so I may need to think a little bit about how I'm going to approach the fight. But we're on a raid. Ambush an enemy convoy, take as much cargo as possible, and retreat before potential reinforcements arrive. Can be accomplished with 1 or 2 mechs. Sometimes bowing out is better than blowing up. Deployed mechs can retreat early after fulfilling the objective. Sorry, let me just take a second here and see if I can shift my mic a little closer. It's a workout with objectives and enemies spread out over this map. Bring our fastest mechs. Show the guards a good fight and capture well-protected locations with our units. We've got your back. The base will approach the combat throughout the battle so you can retreat if you need to. We're fighting the reserves, threat level 260. A mix of reserve troops led by oddball elite specialists. What they lack in skill and experience, they make up for in sheer number, which you can see from just the numbers on here. They're already here. Enemies are ready to immediately engage you, so keep your wits about you. And it says here this is a very hard battle. It may not turn out that way. I'm also really curious. Warnings: this unit can be deployed, but there are some warnings to consider. Damaged. Oh dear. I thought we were fully repaired. Okay, well that's going to make things even more interesting. Okay, well, it's not great, but... The biggest problem here is if I want to be editing the mechs, the ray isn't an option anymore. But the Sleipnir is the one with the lowest level, so let's just see what our options were. So definitely a big part of this would be the change in core, but it's hard to see how increasing my mass and decreasing my barrier generation really helps here. So as far as lower body is concerned, I don't see me putting Asgards on my fastest unit. Same story with the Elbrus. As far as the right arm is concerned, total barrier isn't an improvement. Again, Asgard is not quite the done thing for me. There is something to be said for the fact that even though this is a heavy arm, the mass change isn't that big, so there may be some adjustments I could make which would lighten it. But I don't know. I don't feel like it's that important here. Left slot, I'm not going to change from the sidearm. Yeah, it's all launchers. Okay, I don't think there's going to be that much to change, but I do think at the minimum the Lance may have a few upgrades. So yeah, I guess our big dilemma here is how much extra weight do I want to put on this unit in exchange for... I mean, there is something about the reactor that's interesting. So currently we're at 1203. Yeah, not not gonna happen at that level. Now, this launcher, the 146-254 range, was ridiculous. Like, to a point where this snail launcher is really only helpful, like, if you're just simply not engaging. You almost need to be on another map for that range to be effective. Now, if I want, I can turn around and still try this sort of rocket orientation. The starburst makes a bit more sense here. Both the output per volley as well as the damage is higher. Now, to be honest, the missile approach has not exactly done us any favors so far, but I am willing to give it a shot, and I think it's because the shotgun that we were packing wasn't exactly... like, it wasn't the most exciting thing that I've had in the loadout, so I'm going to give this one more try, but again, there's a few questions about whether or not it's really worth that extra effort. It's got an improved heatsink here. What other offensive systems do I have? I was thinking that maybe if I had something to help with the weight, but I guess that's a mobility subsystem, so I think I'm going to keep the arm. It's tempting, obviously, for the Asgards to go for a heavier, more armored structure. But the problem is that given there's an interesting tension when it comes down to the units that are shield bearers. One of the interesting dilemmas you have is that there's a lot of value in having a strong shielded unit to defend your allies. But the problem is that if your big shielded unit isn't that fast moving, you either need to have your nimble units move behind your large unit, which kind of limits the range in which they can move away from the overall squad, or it's just simply not that effective as a guard because you're essentially relying on the enemy to target the unit that you want them to target. So I have wanted to try and keep my... I mean, 12 is not exactly the fastest unit I could be running, but at the very least it's improving on what some of my previous designs used to do. And then as far as the right slot, I think we already covered this, didn't we? Yeah. And eventually I'll paint it all up. But now, as far as the bull is concerned, there's a few interesting problems here. As you can see, this looks like a bit of a Frankenstein's monster. So it's a 13 speed, so it's not the zippiest in the crew. Lots of improvements here. I think actually if we just switch out the core, this works for us. Hang on. I think I still want the Atlas for this, though. Okay, we've got a standard core. Was it an excellent capacitor? I guess that makes sense. We got a 392 at a 61. Okay, so my lightest head would be 392, 61, 12. Actually, this is a pretty good head for a defensive mech. I need to start paying attention to these a little bit more closely. Okay, so the last thing I want to do is think a bit about cores. So originally, or not cores, thrusters. So I started with an Atlas, optimized for high performance, though heavier than most thrusters, provide the capability for dashing, quickly propelling the mech over short distances at the expense of heat generation. Now, it's important to remember that we've now moved up to 1588 as far as speed is concerned. I'm not 100% sure what caused that, to be honest. So it may actually be the fact that I'm going to make a guess that as soon as I put the Atlas in, I'm going to see that. Yep. Okay. So the next question now is the thruster the thing that I need the most in this on this mech? So for instance, there's the hot rod, optimized for high performance with a high heat output as a consequence. The reduced range, I'm not so sure about. Yeah, I mean, balanced performance doesn't seem so bad after all. So let's see what we can do with this new configuration. I can always switch out the thrusters if they don't quite work for me. The other thing that's kind of neat here is if I want, I can actually try and go for the Asgard legs here and just give back some of the speed that I had. Although I think I was relying on that Atlas thruster to sort of help me traverse large distances if the need arose. Okay, not sure there's a lot of arms here that I want to be messing around with. I mean, again, this is definitely consistent with what I would normally be, bringing. Yeah, I think we're going to leave everything else. I think we're going to leave the rest of it. I wonder... Cool. That's probably going to help. I'm not going to mess around with the inventory, but I think in the next round of improvements that I do, I'm actually going to take some time and make sure that I've got the best versions of different parts on my mechs. Yeah, so a little worried about the fact that we're banged up. I do like the touch that you can actually see the damage on the arm. Was it the left arm? I thought maybe it was the right. But I'm pretty sure here you can actually see the damage on the mech still. That was added a few patches ago, but I definitely like that touch. Okay. So we definitely know on this mission there's going to be a lot of people, but what matters is like what is the nature of the problem. So like if we have a bunch of tanks and they're right up front, it's not hard for us to throw up the shield. Sorry, I should have been reading this. IFF response negative, treating as hostile, requesting immediate reinforcements. Commander of the base has circled around to the perimeter. We're ready to pick up the squad if needed. The enemy will hold the site if you do so. Okay, so as far as objectives are concerned, we've got one here, one here. There may actually be a small argument for the Sleipnir peeling off and running and claiming this. And one of the major reasons, like one of the major factors that will help decide whether or not, hello, Salon Nereus. I am doing all right. A little sleepy and had some trouble getting the stream started, but those seem to be resolved. Thank you for stopping by. I think I had a fairly decent number when we started, and then I noticed the number got cut in half when once I resolved the issues. So I wasn't 100% sure. A bit of trouble on that front, but it's more I'm still catching up on some work. I could be kind of at the end of the catch up period, which is nice. But I am still sort of paying some debts as far as just getting things done. So, but we'll work it out. The biggest thing I want to try and do is start getting streams started and finished, a little more consistently. And if I can do that, I think the rest sort of falls into place. But what about you? How have you been? Okay, so again, it does look like there's a bunch of tanks. We've got a heavy launcher with a shield. You've got a machine gun. So this is going to be something I want to keep an eye on, but it looks like it'll be using its launcher. We've got a shotgun with a compact launcher. So as long as we keep this one at range, we should be okay. And then a marksman rifle with a compact launcher. So there's actually some pretty fearsome mechs that we need to deal with as far as our lineup is concerned. And then it turns out that some of these tanks are not to be trifled with. There's a number of shotguns here. So one thing that I may want to try and do, particularly among some of my faster mechs, is to see if there's a way that I can take advantage of the speed to cause friendly fire. So for instance, like let's say I take the Sleipnir and I say, okay, yeah, we're going to go and just try and take the objective no matter what happens. So we run through. Okay, looking pretty encouraging actually. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a slight adjustment to how this move works. That's going to be just before the shotgun goes off. I'm going to jump, and then we'll run the rest of the way. Now, this doesn't mean we're not going to attack. In this case, I'm just going to open fire on whatever kind of target of opportunity exists. And the one thing I want to avoid is overheating. Yeah, so that's not going to help me. I'm pretty sure I can't do it on the back end either. Oh, I'm surprised. Yeah, that's tickling the edge of heat land, but it's not giving me a warning. Having sleeping issues. You hope it's going in the right direction. Last week was a lot worse than this week, but today you woke up at 1 a.m. again. Oh, that's awful. The trouble I've been running into lately is that it'll be inconsistent in terms of when sleep is actually starting. And what'll happen is like I'll try to go to sleep early, but what's happening is I'm waking up absurdly early, so the total amount of sleep is still not exactly right. And that's definitely causing me some frustration. But I'll work it out. Okay, so one big question that's going to be coming up here is, what do I do about this shotgun? So if I'm confident in my ability to sort of crash or otherwise deal with this enemy, then I can rely on the machine gun. And if I don't feel secure doing that, then I need to address that unit. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to go around my my Sleipnir. I'm going to throw up the shield. Oops. Maybe it's better if I just wait. So I'm actually going to crash into the shotgunner. And then that's going to give me the chance to do the machine gun thing. So I'm going to be right in the thick of it as far as this unit's concerned. But it's important to note that right now this unit's not being attacked, and so in this case I'm going to be able to get some early damage done on the machine gunner. Now, another thing that I may want to focus on is, because this unit is becoming sort of a primary target, I may want to focus my attention to a unit like that as well. And that's going to involve largely ignoring the... that's going to mean ignoring the tanks. No, that's the heavy launcher. That's the machine gunner. Okay, so 2 sets of missiles against the existing launcher. Let's also send some love to the next unit. The last one that's a bit of a dilemma for me. I mean, if I want, I can also move about, but I think in this case I'll just keep my distance. The last big dilemma here is the unit with the marksman rifle, because there's definitely some units that want to cause them harm. Now, I'm not worried about this autocannon, but I believe there are a couple of other units that want to start a fight. Yeah. So this unit is... well, it's got an autocannon too. Okay, actually that gives me some wriggle room. Let's make sure. Okay, unfortunately I hit my Sleipnir doing that, so I gotta wait. I think I'm just gonna... well, okay, there's another path potentially. I think we'll go for the big guys for starters. All right, I'm gonna slow things down just to see how it all turns out. Alright, that's already a crash, so I don't need to worry about putting the shield down anymore. I think I remember liking this one because of the big bwah that comes up. I want to see what the damage is going to be like on the big guy. Not unmanageable, but I maybe want to resist the urge to just sit and take it in future. If we want, we can replay and see what that looks like. Let's go to not full. This looks like the end of War Games. Okay. So the other thing that's kind of nice is there was a lot of friendly fire in that. So the one drawback is that so even if we take the right arm on this thing, it still has a weapon. So the damage on the really vital systems hasn't happened on this unit yet. This was the shotgunner. Okay, so yeah, they're going to want a piece of this unit. Now, the real drawback is that there's a world of pain waiting for them, and they're going to have to wait a while to get their shield up. Now, the one bit of good news is that the autocannon that's coming after this unit is actually going to be hitting them on the shield anyway. So we're going to stay the course. Then I'm going to sort of move back. Okay, I was actually sort of hoping that might have turned out differently, but does the planning of the combat make you feel like you're some super AGI thinking out all the steps of combat beforehand, then running simulations to see how it would turn out? I know that's a little bit like how XCOM, particularly XCOM 2, justifies its setup. The setup for Phantom Brigade is similar to what you're describing, but basically the idea is that there is an AI that's been generated, but what it does is it will give you certain knowledge. It's a little bit more focused on prediction in terms of, or forecasting in terms of like enemy movements. And so in this case, you can sort of, I can definitely see where you might imagine that you're sort of running through all the different, all the possible versions of events. One thing I do like about the way that Phantom Brigade does it is that it really does sort of hold to sort of that in-universe explanation, which is that, you know, the simulation is going to, or the tool is going to keep in mind what it knows about the enemy units. What it's not going to factor in is what your decisions are. And so in essence, it will give you a forecast of what's going to happen, but it's not necessarily going to be a perfect one because it doesn't tell you, like, it doesn't tell you the consequences of the actions that you're taking. So a perfect example of that would be this shotgun unit, which was crashing at a time when I was actually just trying to protect. But, you know, I think it kind of depends on which one. So I have a slightly different read on this, is that it's more, I sort of feel like I'm working out my plan. I mean, to a certain extent, if you were to think of yourself as a commander in the moment, I think this is sort of giving you a view on what would probably be a much more reflexive sort of decision on the part of the the person making these decisions. Like, obviously 5 seconds in advance is not a huge amount of knowledge, advanced knowledge. But this has been true since tabletop gaming. So I seem to recall the original XCOM was inspired by a game called Sniper, I think. And that was certainly, you know, that certainly has informed things that I think people take for granted in the genre, like time units. But I think in the end, kind of the fantasy is really up to you in terms of what you find interesting. I think I'm actually going to change my approach here. I'm going to just take it on the chin. It doesn't look like there's a lot of things that are focusing on my my missile unit right now. So I'm going to find someone deserving. Alternatively, I'm going to find somebody already concussed. That would be this unit, actually. So maybe we just throw as many missiles as we can at it again. That's not the right one. So again, we're going to try and avoid overheating, but otherwise we're going to... Oh, looks like that's it for our moves. So... going to take a slightly different angle here. Okay, so first important question is anybody trying to attack me? Yes, but not in a meaningfully threatening way. So the next question is, how early can I take out this unit? What I'll maybe do is just wait for a... Actually, you know what? It might mess up a shot a little bit. So needless to say, I'm a little surprised about that 50% it's giving me. Okay, I think I'll have to live with the 70. So the aim is to try and defang this unit before it can do too much damage to my ally. The next step, I want to try and put some hurt on the shotgunner if I can. But again, we're riding pretty high on the heat, so that's not the unit. Yeah, I think we just need to wait it out here. So quite a bit more passive turn. So much so that I may... actually want to try an alternative. So the original plan was going to be to run and capture something here. I could have sworn there was something in this spot. I think the objectives vanished on me. So if I just hop up like this... there's some fun possibilities here, actually. So what I'm going to do... I would prefer to focus on the shotgunner, but honestly, being able to get some nice shots from behind on the marksman is not a bad state of affairs. Part of this is just to try and dodge the missiles as well, but we'll see if this turns out. Okay, that's good that the right arm's down. So the running from the missiles might have been overkill. So I want to see if we can take this unit's treads out. Interestingly enough, this unit hasn't taken damage yet. Cool. So far, this turn is actually really doing what we want. Oh, but you know what? I probably focused on the wrong unit. I think I wanted to take out this shotgunner. So we got a couple things going on here. So I'm protecting against a machine gun shot that's not going to happen. And unfortunately, it looks like the concussive damage is not quite enough on this. Not quite enough on the rockets, but we're still in pretty good shape. This thing's taken out. This thing only has a compact launcher now. And so we can start cleaning up. Oh, looks like that stray missile is going to cause us some problems. But yeah, we're going to be able to start munching some tanks pretty soon. So, let's think about some next steps. So this unit's going to eject. Not too worried about the shield, but there's not a lot I can do about it anyway. Now, looks like this unit's running around. Okay, now this is an interesting possibility. So what I want to do is I want to position myself in such a way that I'm able to... I want to be able to target this unit as soon as possible once it gets into range. So if we do something like this... It's not great. I'm still giving up half the turn getting into position. But it's what I've got. So, and we are going to be able to hit it right in the back. So that's a good start there. These missiles are kind of wasted on this unit, which is ejecting, but that's fine. I can't call them back. So now this is a big worry because it's not just that this is a marksman shot, but this is a marksman shot at the very start of the turn. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to do two things. I want to dodge the shot, but I also want to try and move sort of orthogonal to the... well, yeah, this is a bit of a problem, actually. So, like, one thing I want to do is present a hard target. So if I move back like this, I'm turning my back on a high damage shot. And so that's, that's going to cause me problems. But if I dash like this, it's harder to hit, but I'm still exposed to the attack. I can't quite split the difference this way. So I'll settle for this instead. And I think the attack's basically done by the time, by the time I land. Either the damage is done or it's not. Okay, then they go for their missiles next. Okay, actually, with that in mind, the slightly better move is to try... I'm worried about this one, but... See, the problem is I think they run into... Yeah, they run into range too quickly for that to be a very effective attack. Well, no, there is actually... There is an option with that, and it's one I should have thought of a lot sooner. Melee! And for style points, a marksman shot. Okay. This unit's gotta throw missiles at something. Ooh, that shotgun's gonna sting. And I'm attacking, so I can't do my usual runaway. Oh god, yeah, this Sleipner's in deep trouble. So that was all that was all fun right up until Okay, so if I do that, everybody opens fire on my back with short range weapons. Man, I did not think this through at all. I'm pretty sure the Sleipnir's dead. So I think the best I can hope for is to just get in close. Well, there's two things. One, get in close, and then two, try and provoke as much friendly fire as possible. But man, that is a hard goal to achieve in this position. Okay. So I'm basically going to do the only thing that I can, which is to jump forward like this. I'm pretty sure we're toast. And I really only have myself to blame on that, so. Okay. So first story we're going to see is the Sleipnir story. Actually, one last thing I can do as I'm running, assuming that I survive, I can still try and damage enemy units. All right, well, there's the right or left arm. Yeah. I cannot believe I just got away with this. So there's still going to be hell to pay for this unit. There's a batch of incoming fire coming in, and then I think some of those missiles are intended for it as well. So I'm definitely not going to be able to stand and capture the target. Okay, we're watching that on replay a few times. So, first of all, the Great Escape. Oop. So let's watch the rest of what happened on that round, because that was obviously an eventful round. So we'll go. That doesn't feel slow, but so remember that we were dealing with incoming fire. So yeah, it looks like we successfully dodged all the marksman shots on that. And then, as a consequence, we went in for the melee strike, which was able to take out the legs. This unit, we're really just watching them fire off a bunch of cluster missiles in the back there. There's not a whole lot to report, but again, the more damage we can do, the better. And then the other factor that we had was getting the machine gun in place to take on the unit that was moving in. So we sort of set up, not a lot of missed shots there. It didn't do a ton of damage, but in this case, it's really just kind of doing the best with what we've got, to be totally honest. So there's going to be a lot for me to think about for the Sleipnir, to be honest, because I'm at a point right now where I don't want to pull it off the field because it's still useful, but I do not want to lose the left arm because that's going to have some cost as far as repairs are concerned. So one of the priorities in planning is actually going to be to start taking out these units in order to protect the Sleipnir. Another factor that's important to remember is that this unit did use its secondary fire to launch missiles at the Sleipnir. So for this round, what the Sleipnir is going to do is we're going to move, we're going to move out of range, and then basically I'm going to just sort of dash around for a bit, hopefully to avoid any incoming missile fire. Now that's not ideal, obviously, right? But it's going to be sort of a way I can try and preserve the unit. The one bit of good news, though, is that it does mean that the Sleipnir is going to be drawing a lot of fire, which means that my other units are going to be able to contribute meaningfully. So we'll move the big guy up. I want to make sure that whatever missiles we're firing are in range. Okay, so it looks like we get 2 of those. I might even just start marching to the objective. Now the next question is how much damage can I realistically expect to do this unit? If you notice, they're just getting out of the range of my ideal attack, so we're going to finish off the shot. Okay, don't have enough heat, so I'm going to have to walk. Oof. That makes me sad. Really good at cooling down. Okay, so I think I remember why I put a high performance heatsink on this thing. Okay, so clearly clearly this round I need to use this unit to get into position. There's not a whole lot else I can do. Oh god. I didn't even think that this guy might still be standing. Okay, well that might change how I do this turn then. Okay, so the big challenge for, yeah, no problem, Zelen. I do hope you have a good sleep tonight. You know where to find me if if it's not turning out. So the good news is that for this marksman unit, I don't actually need to worry. I don't need to worry about the attacks until later in the turn. I'm a little weirded out by the heat. Okay, so I walk back. Now my ideal, I suppose, well, there's 2. One would be I do another melee strike, or the other would be I dash and take the opportunity for high ground. I mean, that's not a terrible spot to be. So if I move back like this, that lets me get a shot on, well, a theoretical shot on this unit. Now I just need to refine it. Hopefully I can find some high ground. Yeah, I really don't know about that number that it's giving me, but let's... I think this is what I'm willing to say let's hope for the best on. Okay, so for the rest of the team, Sleipnir's running for its life. Yeah, everybody's pretty much got their orders. I'm definitely going to be focusing on the Sleipnir for the next little while to see whether or not we lose the left arm. I feel like this could be like the sort of GIF you put on a Steam page. That's a lot of fire that guy's running from. Okay, so it looks like these things are already popping midair. So I think the rest of the running here was probably irrelevant. So we're gonna see how this shot turns out. Yeah. So I mean, again, there are some problems with this strategy because the Sleipnir's has consistently been one of my high performers on the team, and I've basically taken it out of the combat. But it is also fair to say that as a result of taking this out of combat, I've essentially freed up my missile carrier to just be bombarding the shotgun unit. In fact, it's sorry, both of these have now lost their shotguns, so that's a factor I wasn't keeping in mind. Like, the rest of the team is basically freed up to eliminate these enemies. Now, what I'm going to do here, this is kind of a dubious strategy, but I'm going to set myself up to defend against this shotgunner. Now, that is going to expose my back to this autocannon here. That's not ideal. But I don't have a lot of alternatives. Well, that's not entirely true. What I could do is... So I just march over the unit that's gonna give me some sass. The only thing I don't like about this is that it feels like I am spending too much time building my turn around the shotgunner. So what I'm going to do as an alternative is I'm going to throw some missiles at the deserving units. So otherwise, this unit's going to finish its machine gun on the shotgun. Now, I'm making a bit of an assumption that this is going to finish the job. I have no evidence to say that that will actually happen, but it's my best guess, and it's what I can do right now, honestly. So the other step is going to be just jump forward. I want to try and get as close to the action as I can, because next turn I'm just going to open fire with the machine gun with whatever I've got available. Now, the marksman's going to have a pretty important role to play here, because if I can take out an enemy unit, that helps me to no end. Now, one of the things I also want to keep in mind is whatever threats are being presented against the Sleipnir. So I can mitigate some of them just by hiding behind hills. But if I can, I'd still like to use this to capture objectives. So one option I have is just running through like this, but the problem is that the missiles are still going to be chasing me. So I think what I'll do is I'll run up like so, We'll wait till the missiles are airborne, and that's when I do my first dash. It's kind of a big circle. Now, what is eventually going to happen as a result of this? Actually, yeah, that might be a little too far. Now, we'll try and make it work. One of the drawbacks about this approach is that notice that by running in the big circle like this, I am eventually drawing the attention of the entire crew towards the rest of my team. And that, like, it's where I need to start taking the enemy units seriously again. The good news is that I've had a few turns to sort of whittle them down. So first of all, their most fearsome weaponry is no longer being turned against my units. So it's pretty much just a bunch of missiles. So one option I have is to go into close quarters and mop them up. The drawback is I'm really not built for close quarters. The one unit that's good at close quarters is the unit with the marksman. Everything else is sort of intended to either be a protector or to attack from afar. So with that in mind, I want to kind of make sure that I'm using my units well. And one of the factors I want to keep in mind is how can I manage the range of my marksman unit? So for instance, can I get another, can I get like a hair extra on the range? So something like this. Now I think this is going to hit the side of the mountain. Yeah, so that doesn't work. But even just like a fraction of a tile, being able to get that extra performance out of the weapon. So the idea here is to try and do the most with the marksman rifle before enemy units are deliver their payload, basically. So another thing I can try at this point would be to move up and attack. Okay, that's possible. And what the real intention here is to just start moving in and then get a melee strike. So we'll kind of creep in that way. And I think the rest of the team's got its turn sorted out. Okay, good news there. Left weapon's down. I'm a bit worried about these missiles. Okay, they missed. And it looks like we took out the missile there, so I think we should feel pretty good about things. Looks like we didn't successfully crash into that unit. That makes me a bit sad. Okay, so there's going to be some more missiles coming towards the Sleipnir. I want to keep that in mind as I move through the environment. But let's replay. So without focusing on, well, we'll do a full speed replay. So that was the Sleipnir's turn. Let's put that on repeat. Yeah, so the intention was trying to step on this unit, but that clearly didn't work. So we just neutralized that unit. We've got one more in the back there. I will confess, even this replay system is a lot of fun to look at. Like, you can get some fun stuff. Oh, you know what? I was meaning to do a big replay of that Sleipnir running through a hail of bullets. Okay. So as always, I thought I heard like a sad piano. Like, come on. I'm doing much better than I was. So there's a couple things that I want to keep in mind here. Number one is that there's a set of missiles that are already after me. And then number two, there's going to be a set that are are launched partway through. Another factor that I need to keep in mind is that there's going to be a marksman attack. And so if I can, I'd like to try and keep the hills between me and the target. So first thing I'm going to do is I'll just do a quick dash to try and clear away the missile that's already coming after me. Next thing I'm going to do is run the Sleipnir around. So that, and again, just being careful about what I'm exposing myself to. So by this point, the missile that's coming after me is done firing. So I'm going to start by dashing here. I think I'm actually going to run to the next hill, although obviously that's going to happen over more than one turn. So in the meantime, one thing I can do to help out the Sleipnir is kind of follow through on the plan that I had earlier, and that's to, that's to attack the... I'm a little worried about this this attack actually being pulled off. I mean, at this point, I just gotta hope, right? So I suppose I could melee strike the... Yeah, that works. And then I suppose I just engage from the bridge for the rest of the team. Okay, next up. So I want to keep an eye on enemy units. So this one still has a launcher. This one's about to eject. So let's try and take out the launcher because that's the thing that's really keeping me from using the Sleipnir to their full potential. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is move as far as I can until I need to launch. I'm not 100% sure what the accuracy measures for the launcher are, so I may be wasting time by standing still and firing. But I'd rather do that and find out that I'm... I'd rather do that and sort of find out that I'm doing something silly than sort of find out that something that could have taken out an enemy weapon didn't because I was, running and gunning. So in this case, this unit's just going to stay put. It's got a lot of armor. It's got a shield if it needs it. This is something that's kind of designed to sort of dig in and take the zone. The other big playmaker is going to be the machine gunner, and in fact, this is going to be one that might be a little tricky for me to work with. Not least of which because I've sort of left them exposed to this unit. But another factor is I may not actually have any good targets after the sort of the slicing and dicing is done. So I think I'm going to correct that. I'm actually going to put them to where the... I'm going to put them to where the... yeah, this is going to be a little silly, but... it's just going to be, autocannon versus machine gun. This autocannon can do 285 in a full volley, so I don't really have that much to fear. Left-hand side might be a bit of a worry. If they hit the left arm, that's probably the worst. But I don't see that as being like a major factor. I guess we'll find out in a second. That thing's really insistent. Alright, so that thing's taken out. I don't need to worry about the marksman shots anymore. Okay, that guy's down as well. Looks like that missile's still coming after me though, so that's something that can take out my left arm if I'm not careful. In fact, that kind of looked exactly like where it was going, but it does seem to have passed us by, so... Yeah, so we're just laughing at this guy. Actually, that's a big one for me to pay attention. Notice that we knocked out the pilot based on just standing and firing with the machine gun. So that's going to be something that I take advantage of in future for sure. Okay, so this unit's not moving anywhere. So at this point, we really just need to find the most deserving target and launch stuff at them. So we've already got a few missiles on the way. But in this case, it's just, you know, as long as I've got heat capacity, we're gonna launch something at them. Takri, how you doing? There was a really, really fun bit a little bit earlier where this unit escaped certain death with all of its parts intact. Okay, as a precaution, I'm going to start with a dash, just in case that missile gets any ideas. We'll just run the rest of it for now. Got some shots today. Your arm is hella swollen. Sorry to hear that, but I'm glad you got your shots. And happy belated now streaming anniversary. I realize I kind of wished it to you offline, but it's a chance for me to say it rather than just type it. I hope you feel better soon, though. Okay. Yeah, so really, this is the biggest threat. I think, honestly, the answer to this guy is just get the machine gunner in range. So, I'm not crazy about this attack, because, again, we're doing that sweeping arc that... that's not ideal, right? Like, so we're going to have to track this guy. It would be better if we were going head on. Now, they're going to wind up crashing into an enemy anyway. But, you know, like it would have been nice to have an alternative. One other thing that I could try and do is a melee strike like this. But the thing I need to do if I'm going to take that approach is make sure I get the heck out of the way in time for the machine gunner. Okay, that does look like that's going to happen. So can I follow up with a marksman? Because if I can follow up with a good marksman shot afterwards... not exactly. It's close. That's a tight window. Okay, so what if I just don't move? Well, if I don't move, then I'm not close enough, so... Well, let's just hope the timing works out. Actually, you know what? That's probably not the smartest move for me to make here, because we know this thing's not a threat to us right now. So it's better for me to take out something that could potentially be launching missiles than something that... Yeah, we can get 4 shots before we even think about... Okay, cool. So the reason I revised this is that the machine gunner should already be dealing with this this unit. This unit isn't threatening the Sleipnir. And at the very end of the turn, it's going to be crashing into something. So there's very little threat from this unit, which means I don't need to redirect resources to dealing with it. This unit, on the other hand, is going to be firing missile... Or not, well, clearly that one's... empty, but this unit's going to be firing missiles at the end of the turn against the Sleipnir. And so I want to try and make sure that I protect my unit, and ideally that those missiles just never get launched. And so in this case here, redirecting the marksman is basically how I accomplish that. I'm maybe not going to run them in for a melee strike, but that's... yeah. I think that's a decent enough use for the turn, and then I'm going to get them on their hill so that I can either take out this unit or this unit when the time comes. We also have some missiles coming in, so I think I normally do this one at full speed, but I'm going to take a quick look and see what happens to the Sleipnir. And then I want to see how the shots turn out. Alright, so that missile doesn't seem to be going anywhere interesting. All right. Okay, so we got a shot in. That is my left arm exposed. I should be a little more worried about this. Ooh, Jesus! Oh no, we did lose the left arm. So I'm kind of calling shenanigans on that a little bit. I'll explain why in the replay. So this is, I think, the last unit that's standing. So let's go to the replay. I'll do it on slow just because I'd like to see exactly when we lost that left arm. Yeah, so we have the left arm at this point. So when we reviewed the plan, it said that this, like, it had a dotted line. So yeah, that was one. I guess that must have been it. That doesn't quite make sense, though, because I thought we had 6 health left. I guess it's not going to show me the exact moment I lost it. But yeah, I don't know. The game kind of indicated that, like, there was an obstruction, and it makes sense, right? And I guess the logic is that it might have been shooting through... I don't know, it's going straight over that. Yeah, you know what, I'll be honest with you. I'm not 100% sure why the game says... I'm not 100% sure why the game says... like, this is in the way. Because, like, again, remember the original plan was to go around the hill. Now, again, like... It's not the end of the world. I'm gonna have to pay for the scrap for the replacing the arm and the weapon. The thing I'm a little more annoyed about, right, is that we had a game plan with this unit. We spent a lot of time maneuvering it in such a way, and I would have been perfectly happy to kind of go the long way around if I felt that it was under threat. And in the end, like, it turns out it was under threat, and I don't really know how I could have behaved differently to prevent what happened, you know, from happening. But the thing is, right, is like I can you know, throw a tantrum. I can talk about how unfair the game is, blah blah blah. You know, it's one turn. It's 2 parts. I kind of already committed to a pretty bloody approach to this fight. And honestly, like, I was really reckless with this unit earlier. So, you know, the fact that I've you know, that I ultimately lost that part, you know, I got away with murder earlier anyway. The only thing is that it would have been nice to sort of complete the objective instead of spending so much time running around, you know, for ultimately, you know, without kind of getting the reward that I was looking for. And I'll be honest, like, there's a couple of times that I've sort of bumped into the game's recommendations relative to the relative to what. Oh, this thing's actually still running around. Okay. It gives me something to do here. Yeah, I mean, again, there's been a couple times when I've sort of bumped into something like that, and it's just, you know, something I live with. It's a minor thing in the grand scheme of things, but it's just kind of, especially because this would have been such a more fun story of like, yeah, we got away with murder. Oh wow, that's a bit of overkill, but. Okay, that unit's going to eject, so we just lock in the turn. And there we go. So, 210 salvage. Wait a minute. Where's my parts? So did I not lose the... What's going on here? Oh. Okay, I'm not even going to question it at this point. We'll just see where it goes. Okay, so obviously I've got my work cut out for me in terms of what I scrap. So we're at 305 of 210. I am looking for a better shotgun because I'm not 100% sure that I like that missile approach. So maybe let's say we scrap the launchers. Maybe even leave them behind. So I suppose I only need one shotgun. So we've got a 48-801, 55-876. I actually kind of want to take both, knowing that. I'm going to scrap some of the heavy armor for the time being. Okay. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure how I feel about that, but... Okay, so clearly we are going to need some repair. I guess the repairs are automatically going to happen. Yeah, I mean, that says it's missing an arm, so I better hope I get my stuff back. And I am going to make a move on the objective, but clearly we are waiting until... Oh, clearly we are waiting until we're at 100% on everything. So again, we're trying to liberate Fearland. That may not happen, in time for the end of the stream. Oh, looks like we finished our new body as well. Okay, so now we're at 100% repairs. Now is the time for us to play with the options. Sorry, I usually like going from the lowest rated unit to the highest. Okay, so yeah, that is the Ray. So first thing we looked at was a marksman rifle. We actually gave up some armor for that. So what do we get for... Alright, so this baseline isn't quite what I needed. We're definitely going to clear... Actually, here's one thing I'm going to do right now. I'm detaching everything. This is going to be like a full accounting of all of my units in terms of improving their loadouts. So first things first, we've got the Ray for its upper body. Actually, no, I'll hang on to the marksman rifle for now. But what we're looking at right now, we've got this Elbrus upper. So first thing I want to look at is weight, or mass and integrity. So if I have a good combination of mass and integrity, it's possible that this may be an upgrade for me if I start messing around with some of the different cores. So 521 is my baseline. There's a lot of fairly weak cores inside of this, fairly weak torsos. The defensive subsystem is hollowed plating. So actually this is a pretty strong... This is a pretty strong combination I seem to have here. So probably hollowed plating in a heavy torso is going to be what really makes that work. So right now I've got this Elbrus T1. It's a 444.96. Okay, so that's about the most protective I can get as far as the head is concerned. The next highest is 69 at 392. So if I want to give up a little mass, it does also have the heat dissipation, but I'm maybe not convinced that's the thing I need right now. So not much else for me to take unless I've got a better version of hollow plating. We're working with a charge core now. I haven't really felt that I have any sort of changes to my power needs or heat capacity, but I'll maybe keep an eye on that for the future. And then finally, as far as thrusters are concerned, I went for the balanced one, the low guy. So if I don't dash a lot, I might want to go for some lower power drawing thrusters. And if on the other hand I maybe want to leap tall buildings in a single bound, I may want to switch things around. But I think right now, it's hard to... I'm trying to think of cases where placement really haven't worked for this unit. The one exception that I might consider would be the fact that this unit is the melee unit as well. And so I may actually want to consider higher performance melee attacks. So a good example of that would be the Reach. So in this case, it's I'm trading off heat generation, but I mean, I might even be willing to entertain that, to be honest. We'll leave it be for now, but the Reach is definitely something I would consider for this mech. So let's just take a quick look. So this has got improved hydraulics. Can we do better? No, improved hydraulics is it. So the thing to remember about the improved hydraulic, in fact, I guess I'll put a reactor on it. So the reason I'm doing this is just so that I can do an apples to apples comparison on the lower body. So for instance, what I want to do is if I've got something with higher integrity, it's like these Asgard lower legs are not a bad example. The mass is actually not that different. But I'm not so sure about the heat dissipation, though. Yeah, I'm not bringing on the Subaba. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with what I've got, to be honest, so... I don't think there's any better left arms, but we can... Well, this arrow arm seems to work well. So that's got a mobility system with an excellent reactor. Yeah, so the catch on this one is that I give up power if I do that. So you can take a look at that 1579 on the speed. Let's Nox 2M. 1516 is not that... It's not that bad to give up, to be honest. Okay, so most of this stuff is going to involve more mass. I think I'll just put a regenerator on it because I can. Okay, so this thing's rocking a passive heat sink. So again, I did just give up a bunch of heat dissipation doing that. And in fact, there's no purpose for putting that. There's no purpose on putting that regenerator on something that doesn't have regeneration. Okay. I want to see whether or not I actually made the right call there. Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave this other arm on. Okay, so no real melee. I do actually kind of like how the melees turned out on this one, so I'm gonna keep that. And then I think we said we were not going to bother with you're not going to bother with the marksman rifle. Yeah, so they don't do as much damage. And you know what? I think it's time that we started applying some livery. So there's a sniper unit, so maybe we'll... Actually, you know, let's just... We'll do the Alpine Rock look. Now, I thought there was an option to clear out the... I thought there was an option to, like, clear out the visual styles. Apparently not. How you doing, Irrepressible? Sorry, there is one other thing I wanted to do. So we've got the low guy here. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't a better version of most of the stuff that I'm already working in. Yeah, we already did that. Okay, so we're going to do this. I'm basically going to do this for all of my units. Then we'll build our fifth. I think the fifth is going to be a melee-focused unit. And then we'll move on to the next challenge. So Sleipnir is our next candidate. Actually, the other thing I want to do is hit detach again, because we did mess around a bit with our... we did mess around a little bit with our loadouts. So, as always, we've got endurance thrusters, a heat core, an improved regenerator. We've got to find something better for that. We won't worry about the head armor yet. So we're medium Elbrus. Now, one thing that I may want to consider is the fact that we could put something like heavy plating or composite plating. That'll give us a little bit more power in exchange for, or a little bit more defense in exchange for some weight. So heavy will give us 30% bonus to mass, 20% on integrity, whereas composite is 15 and 8. So, I mean, honestly, I'd be surprised if... Hey, Irrepressible, thank you very much for the sub. I hope the future of warfare is more like this and less like autonomous drone swarms. Can't comment on on your hopes, but it's definitely very the Phantom Brigade style is certainly much more fashionable. Okay, let's... So yeah, I'll be honest with you, I'm struggling to think of cases where another 20%... I mean, I'll write it down, but... We'll see, but yeah, I'm not feeling optimistic about where we're going to take this. Incidentally, Irrepressible, I'm just trying to think. You might be... I don't want to look it up, because, like, honestly, I don't look at the sub list, but you might be one of the longest subbed here, now that I think of it. At least in terms of, like, the chronological order. I gotta think about it. Because, there's definitely been people who were on the stream, like, earlier, but, like, haven't continued their subscription, which, you know, is fine. Again, I don't expect... Just because I keep streaming doesn't mean that people are, you know, are not gonna have other interests. But there's, like, a side of me that kind of wants to know so I can thank people, but on the other hand, like, because I've never opened... Yeah, because I know there's the difference between, like, the streaks and then the, like, the number. But yeah, like, the thing is that, like, I've pointedly not looked at the sub list because I don't really want to know. Like, I don't... You don't even have the option of feeling bad about it if you don't look. And in the end... There isn't really any benefit to me looking at the sub list because I don't measure it. I don't, you know, I try not to treat people differently. Obviously, I'm very grateful when people sub. But I guess there is kind of nice stuff in terms of being able to recognize the people's, like, long-term service. I'll be honest with you, I actually don't quite like the I don't quite like the idea of streaks because as nice as it is to celebrate that milestone, I do feel it's a way that Twitch is, like, just adding another sort of friction point for people to keep subs that they don't necessarily want for longer. So, I don't know, like, you know, if you're at the point... I guess I'd put it to you this way. Like, I think a lot of people have run into the case. I'm kind of lucky in the sense that I've always been pretty stingy in terms of the number of channels I sub to. I've never really been in the point where I sort of sit down and say, I'm subbed to too many channels, you know, I need to cut back. But I know that's a genuine problem, particularly for people who are much more social on Twitch than I am. And to be honest, I really don't like the fact that Twitch draws your attention to it. not even necessarily from the idea of there being some kind of shame or some kind of like secondary, you worrying about other people, but like the idea of, oh, but if I unsub from them, I'll lose my streak. It's kind of like, you have to decide what's good for. I mean, there's only so many channels you can watch, first of all, but number two, like, I don't know. I feel like there should be less frictions to separating from a channel, right? Like, I get that Twitch wants to make money, but I don't know, like gaming people into something that they don't need or want. Surely Twitch can do more in terms of providing value. You used to be subbed to so many people, then you stopped hanging out there so much. Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. There's definitely a couple of places where I'm still subbed, even though I don't stop by all that often. I feel like sub-only chat used to be way more common, and I just dealt with it. Yeah, I don't, like, I can definitely imagine some situations where I would do sub-only things. Like, I do like the idea of doing things that are, like, special for people. I'm not entirely sure sub is the metric that I would like to use, though. Like, so I'll just, as a personal thing, like, there's a couple of streamers I know where I don't sub to them. I directly donate to them because I know that at the bare minimum, I'm gonna, double the amount that goes into their bank account because I'm bypassing Twitch as the middleman. Now the thing is that if you sub on Twitch, again, you get the pomp and circumstance, and you also get things like emotes. So, it's hard to say, if you really want to support someone, directly donate, because the thing is that you want value for your money. You've already got the stream, right? The sub is a way of sort of putting badges up and being able to participate in things like emotes and that. But yeah, for me, like that's one way I've gone around it. But obviously, if I were to create such a system and I were to rely on people to behave that way, turning on a subs only chat is kind of a kick in the nuts, right? Because what it's going to mean is that, people who have gone out of their way to do something that winds up, making me a bit more money on the margin are now not able to participate in that special thing. So Twitch did kind of a good job on tamping down third party. Yeah, well, that's just it. Like, my revenues went down, I think it was over the half as soon as the affiliate program came in. Like, honestly, the affiliate program was a major loss to me. But at least now I can somewhat regularly get transcodes. So that's the nice, I guess that's a nice turnaround. You remember when the Saudi prince is competing to give Summit the most donations? It was a big thing. I did not know that was a thing, but surely they could send some of that my way, right? This guy sounds like a dirty commie. How you doing, Edgemarian? Jeff Bezos is not going to get a second space condo with this kind of talk. Yeah, I mean, obviously Twitch. Like, so if the Twitch didn't wind up with Amazon, they would have wound up with Google. I think the thing that bugs me is that Twitch takes a lot from creators, but I'm not entirely sure it's offering anything other than basically being the only game in town now. And like, I'm actually broadly quite fond of things like VC. I'm definitely not I'm not someone who thinks that businesses should not get a good return on their investment, but it's it is quite difficult to sort of see exactly what Twitch is doing to earn what they take from creators when they're doing things like, you can get an extra 5% on your affiliate ads if you make them run automatically every 30 minutes. And it's like, yeah, that's not happening. I do not make even remotely enough off of ads to break my flow like that. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the concern, and definitely a lot of good tech reporters, like I'm thinking Mike Isaac particularly, have been noting the growth of Twitch and talking about how that's a potential competitor to YouTube. And that's definitely why you're seeing more things like Just Chatting and, basically going back to the old Justin TV days. I can definitely see that. As far as relative sizes, Twitch is a minnow compared to YouTube, and it can actually create a bit of a problem. I've been meaning to publish an article on like reaching out to broadcasters and getting them to stream your game, because like there are indie games that I've seen that have a minimum concurrent view requirement of 250 concurrent views. That is in the that's not even the top 1%. That's a fraction of the top 1% of Twitch streamers accomplish those numbers. So it's just like but the thing is that you look at that compared to what the expectations for YouTube is, and like saying 250 seems like such a reasonable number compared to what YouTube numbers are. And so, that's another tricky one. But yeah, as you say, like the network effects are huge. It's the reason why there's almost certainly not going to be multiple streaming platforms, even though, Facebook bought up all the Mixer assets. But I do think probably the bigger competition from Twitch is just the novelty it's not really novelty anymore, but like live streaming presumably is not going to be around forever, that there may be alternatives. And I think one of the ways that I think Twitch would stumble would be an alternative broadcasting medium, and it's one in which is either a little more creator dominated, or it's one that sort of recognizes its edge and is sort of again, their business model may be structured differently or whatever, that basically you can kind of turn around and you can say, it's like, yeah, you know what, they're taking half my revenues and I still need to deal with DMCA problems, even though clearly they are better equipped to be able to try and negotiate some sort of third way. So what exactly am I getting out of this arrangement? I'm just going to go and do my metaverse thing or whatever the new hotness is. But that's obviously a really long-term kind of consideration. I don't think Twitch is going anywhere soon, but my suspicion is that the disruption would happen sort of twofold, which is just kind of a relative shift in terms of how you're spending your time away from streaming, and then the reason why Twitch would not be the one to capture that alternative compared to another is that the other essentially creates something that is more appealing to content creators, because it's true that the big names on Twitch clearly aren't enough to dislodge people from their platforms. So like Ninja going to Mixer just meant that somebody else got Ninja's spot on Twitch. But I think when you do that on a larger scale, when you're talking about a shift in terms of how people are spending their time, in that case you can see you can probably see the seeds of it being undermined as the dominant player. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize YouTube Live, because I've done YouTube Live a couple of times, and I felt like it wasn't going away. It was actually the way I would get transcodes, but I was under the impression that they were very much an also ran as far as live. That's interesting though. I'd be happy to see a little more competition between the two. Anyways, I still need to improve all my people, one way or the other, right? I'm gonna be here, right? I'm gonna keep doing my thing. I like talking about this because I think it's interesting. But I guess the way I could put it, if I'm really honest, is that I've seen more otherwise enjoyable streamers become really unpleasant when they start focusing on numbers too much. And if I treat that as anything other than an interesting academic exercise, I sort of feel like I'm in danger of sort of falling into the same trap that some of those others have been. So, how do I put it? It's I think it's kind of on brand for me to talk about this sort of stuff, because if you read my blogs, or there's a new one out, by the way. I think I mentioned it before, but it's the spoiler one. I noticed that didn't quite get the same amount of attention as some of the others, but I also suspect that probably that's probably more of a function of the topic than anything. If you want, I can read it at the end of the stream. But yeah, like, I obviously talk about gaming business stuff, and streaming is part of that. And so I think there is some value in discussing about it. But I don't know, like, at least I'm not selling you crypto. Crypto of the Necrodancer. That's my thing. How you doing, Jetpack? I'll put it to you this way. The specific examples I can think of are this. There is a streamer from a guy that was very much a positivity streamer. This I'm not going to name names, but I am going to at least spill a little tea here. This guy is very based on positivity streaming and all of that. And one thing that I actually thought was an edge for them was I definitely felt that I could sort of be myself. And I'm sure some of you who have maybe seen me in chats will know that I'm quite different in Twitch chat than I am on a live broadcast. I'm generally a bit more sarcastic or trolly, or at the very least, I don't mind saying absurd things, knowing that inevitably somebody's going to just have to show how smart they are on the internet and correct something that is obviously intended to be silly. So, somebody's playing Demon Souls, and I turn around and say, Demon Souls, like, this looks like a low budget, clone of Dark Souls. They should, From Software should totally sue these guys. From Software made the same game. Dark Souls, Demon Souls. They're obviously different games. And it doesn't matter. You can just go down to every absurd level. You can completely indicate that you know who From Software is, while still insisting. So I roll into chat. Yeah. The problem is, whenever I do this, people want to take up that mantle, and like the thing is that I obviously have a different tone. But like the funny thing is right. The thing I love about it is that most streamers who see this sort of stuff get the joke, and I've like Johnny Big Time has had that happen in his chat multiple times, and he's just had his head in his hands laughing sometimes, saying, it's like, why don't you people get this? So I could do that, and the guy I felt like I could have it around. The guy in private expressed enjoyment for me, being around. And what really interested me was there was this one time, so they were really big into Fortnite, and one of the like big Fortnite streamers, like we're talking like basically people who are at the top of the top in terms of Twitch at the time, because obviously Fortnite's given up some of its dominance, but like this was definitely something that they like this was at the time where like Fortnite felt like it was just never gonna stop growing. And like basically this huge guy got drunk and basically decided to just like blow the mind of someone who's sort of in the bottom percentile in terms of Fortnite streams, and hosts this guy. Right now there's a version of this story where the merits of this streamer came across, and it was a huge growth event for their channel, and a bunch of people followed this guy and stayed with it. But they didn't. the reason for that is as soon as these names come in, like there were a bunch of subs that were coming in, and then he starts blaming all the new activity for him losing. And eventually, like, the chatters kind of started calling him out on that. As like, what, so you don't want people to watch you, so you play the game better? Like, you know, I was doing my best. I actually pulled, the thing that's funny about this is I actually pulled back the trolley side, and I actually kind of started to try and push him to maybe engage with the chat a little bit more. And in any case, like, it's, you know, he had his shot, kind of blew it, and you just see the thing sort of deflate back down to the level that he was before. So this is the thing about, like, ranking Twitch channels by concurrent views. Like, it's not necessarily the worst system. Like, people will sign off of stuff that they're not enjoying, especially if there's lots of other options. So it's why I don't talk too much about the algorithm screwing me. There have been times that's happened for sure, but I'm also probably exactly where I need to be in terms of entertainment value. Yeah, well, that's just it, right? Like, the guy, you know, there's nothing, the thing is, there's nothing wrong with being a small streamer as long as you're having fun with it. But my breaking point on this was after that happened, he, like, DM'd me and sort of talked about how I needed to stop being so trolly because he had a really big opportunity and it was lost. And, like, I'm just thinking to myself, I was like, I actually turned off the troll because of that event. I was like, I was there. I was trying to get you to engage, and this is how you're dealing with it. So, like, you know, at that point, I'm just like, you know, I didn't even say anything. I don't even think I responded to the DM. I just stopped showing up. And I mean, the eventual story for them was they deleted their channel and they started a new one, and then they deleted that channel and they started a new one. And it's like, you know, it's fun to be in the high growth phase, right? Because if you're a new channel, when you go from 1 to 2 followers, that's 100% growth. But if you're at 1,000 followers and you get, like, 1 new follower, you know, suddenly that doesn't feel very special anymore. I don't think they're on Twitch anymore. But, like, you know, at that point it's like, okay, so I can't be myself because, you know, you've kind of got these delusions of grandeur that you're gonna, you know, you're gonna become ninja. And it was my fault that, you know, your big opportunity didn't turn out the way that you wanted to. I think the other thing that kind of bugged me about it was I actually took a screenshot of him at the top of the Fortnite list, and then I got that DM, so I was like, okay, I'm done. The other one that I've noticed is there's somebody who I would watch and they would yell at the end of their, so they'd, like, yell at people and then end their stream early because they weren't getting any chat interaction. And it's like, the only people you're really penalizing with that are the people who were hanging out, because the people who are not engaging with your, like, the people who are not watching your channel are not there. And it's like, that's fine if you want engagement, but it's kind of your job to do the entertainment, right? That's another big one that happens. And then the last one, and again, I'm sort of in the danger of falling in this trap for myself, is people who just don't stop talking about growth numbers. Because, like, honestly, there's far more interesting things to talk about. Talk about the game that you're interested in. Talk about what happened to you today. Talk about a book that you read. Talk about a movie that you watched. Talk about a game you're looking forward to playing, if the one that isn't working for you. You know, you absolutely do not need to have people inside of a chat to have something interesting to say. Generally, the people who have something interesting to say will find a way of doing something at least passable, right? Like, again, entertainment's in the eye of the beholder. I would assume, like, I wouldn't watch me, to be honest. And I know I've run into some people like, well, if you wouldn't watch you, why are you streaming? Like, you need to do something that you think people will enjoy. And I'm like, well, I mean, I've been doing this for a few years and people show up. Like, it's obviously entertaining to someone. It's just I don't watch that many streams. Like, you know, I think it's possibly be good at a style that maybe is not something you would personally want to watch. But yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I kind of am a hypocrite on this, I guess, because I carve out an exception for myself in terms of talking about Twitch stuff, because I also talk about business of video games and I talk about game development, at least as far as I understand it. and it can sometimes be helpful to, talk about some of these considerations that go around the hobby. But I do always feel kind of nervous about it because, again, like it's not a secret that, one, I can do larger audiences, and two, I would love to have the kinds of Twitch audiences that I do when I do Steam stuff. But it's not my driving goal, right? Like I've definitely seen a reduction in terms of concurrent views. I'm still showing up, admittedly showing up a bit later, but like it's still happening. So I don't know. That's my effort to carve out an exception. But maybe I don't need to do big long rants like this stuff. And Olaf, I see you there. Sorry, I was mid rant, so I didn't want to. Oh yeah, the other one actually that I think turns otherwise interesting people into bad broadcasters, and I think this is just a problem with me not watching their broadcasts enough, is people just constantly crap on stuff. There's someone I used to watch pretty regularly and host pretty regularly, and for 5 broadcasts in a row, I mentioned a game that I liked, and it would provoke like a 5 or 10 minute discussion on how, it was excrement, but in more blunt terms. And I'm like, great, like, and then, I remember sometimes like, see, I'm ranting like you, System Chalk, and I'm like, no, like, crapping on people's interests repeatedly is not the essence of my speaking style. So yeah, I mean, that's absolutely fair. The one thing though is that I think it's also fair to say that I've got broad enough interests that I don't need to talk about Twitch stuff. But on the other hand, I also think that there's stuff I have to say about Twitch that isn't necessarily said in other quarters, so that's why I'll sometimes do these digressions. Also, it's just nice to have a little mental rest. But I am going to jump back onto my mech building. So the endurance thrusters, optimized for lower heat and power output, reduced range for better overall movement. So this has worked well enough for now. I honestly would like to have better thrusters on the Sleipnir. Who wouldn't want to be a better thruster? But the catch is that all of these have fairly high power requirements. The one exception would be I can kind of go the distance and say we'll save 1 extra power by going sidestep, but I think that's probably going to reduce my jump range too much. So for now, I think I'm going to stick with the endurance. I have no idea what you're talking about, Irrepressible. I'm talking about mech locomotion. What are you talking about? All right. We've got uncommon Nox light legs. I don't think we're going to get something better, but as always, we want to take a quick peek. And if we have a chance to... So we've got improved hydraulics, and those are level 6. So unless we have better... unless we have excellent hydraulics, we're not switching these out. Okay, we've got a Nox arm. Again, same dilemma as before. This does have some potential here. So this has currently got a mobility subsystem. Looks like this one... Well, we don't know what this one has. Okay, so that brings us down to 19, and unfortunately it's a defense subsystem. So I think I'm actually going to switch back to that Nox. Because honestly, 6 integrity is not enough for me to switch. Okay, 376. Yeah, that's not happening. But as always, passive heatsink. Do we have anything better that we can throw in? Not without giving up power. See, it says it's a blast handgun, but that sure looks like a... It sure looks like a rocket launcher to me. Either way, I'm definitely sticking with the weapon. And then I don't think we have any better... yeah, our burst is kind of our best option for the rifle. Okay, so I suppose there's something encouraging about the fact that we don't actually have that many improvements to make on our existing units. Now the bull, I was quite surprised by its ability with the machine gun, so I want to see if I can double down on that. Hang on, sorry. We were also going to be working on the livery. So I feel like this one, you know, this one's big and speedy and awesome, so I'm thinking big, bright, flashy colors. Experimental's not bad as well. I was kind of hoping if I could to do some of the iridescent. Oh. Golden boy. Do any of you watch Better Call Saul? Wasn't quite what I had in mind, but I'm definitely sticking with this one. I've quite liked what I've seen of it. There is a sequence in which a character is trying to get fired, and there is a sequence of suits that they decide to wear. And I was hoping to try and color this mech in what one of the characters describes that optical migraine of a suit. The pink and white was really pretty. So I actually usually went for the bubblegum. But I'm not above... I was debating on the pink and white. So I'll just double check which one you were thinking of. Was it these ones, like the pedal? Yeah, I can work with pedal. I try to have some variation in terms of the gun, so... Well, for my bruisers, I usually like using the bubble gum, or blueberry and bubble gum, and then I should at some point show. I realize Anthem is something that's long been kind of pushed into people's memory. I do feel kind of bad. I feel like that game was really never given a proper chance. But yeah, iridescent violet for the gun. Sorry, violet, not violent, but the violence will come from the gun. But I wonder if we can do something about the left slot as well. Ooh, blue pedal. I wonder if that works with the right slot as well. You know what? That's just a nice little subtle touch. I think I'm gonna go for that. Actually, tell you what. Iridescent violence coming to a Crayola pack near you. Let me just take a quick second here and see if I can find my Anthem I think they were called javelins. I have absolutely no organization. Oh, hang on. I might have found it. Huh. I got a few of these here. Okay, this won't take too much longer, but I mean, I do like the customization in this for sure. In this case, I'm trying to in this case, I'm not actually focusing on the game right now. I'm just trying to fight with Microsoft's file system to... I don't understand. I don't seem to have the option to change the view. Oh, there we go. Okay. It's just easier for me to start with icons and then okay, this is the best we're gonna get. So I think this is the Anthem beta, but this is my first effort at sort of customizing my javelin, and it's beautiful. But there's a bunch of different javelins that you have, and you know, based on the version that I had, there's also some extra kind of customization that you can do. So this was the final version of... I'm sure I can zoom this in a little bit. There we go. Actually, one thing I was delighted by, I noticed a couple of people actually seemed to get on board with this, and there were... Okay, there we go. So I guess I don't get to keep the... I kind of wish they would just do... Okay, zoom to fit works. But yeah, so this I'm pretty sure was the beta. So this is the pretty much what I decided to settle with for my regular... Actually, I'm pretty sure I still have a very similar loadout to this in the game. I need to reinstall it, but I actually would like to go back and finish what I can. This was one of my other ones. This is totally different. This is the Ranger, I believe. And then I also went for a Storm. So, you know, again, these are the, you know, generic, I'm playing a science fiction video game. This is the same mech. This is the engine. So this is my main javelin in Anthem. But just so that I can make sure that my pink mech credentials are in order. It's not just not just Phantom Brigade where I do this. Okay, we've got 3 more, but it shouldn't take that long. So we're going to go for the bull. We'll do the livery in the end. So, same story with the upper body, 463. Now, this has been a bit of a hybrid one, so it's really just a question of what fits best. Honestly, though, none of these really give me better armor, so we're not even going to consider the alternatives. We do have the low guy. Now, we got our biggest advance... Hang on, sorry. There was one other thing that I didn't... Actually, I think I did... Yeah, with the Sleipnir, we already considered the heads. So, in this case, it's just subsystems. We already decided to keep the low guy. I don't think I'm going to change the cores. We've already got an excellent capacitor, so unless I have something that I think will work better than a capacitor, we keep that in place. And right now we're working with an Aero 1L, so that's a mass of 392 with an integrity of 61. So we can already get a 68, so we'll move up there. Okay, we get the 69 instead. Also better heat dissipation, it turns out. Okay, so the question now is, does the 444 get me something that I can't otherwise get? So lower heat dissipation, slightly higher integrity. Nope, I'm happy with it. Also, it doesn't look as weird as some of the others, so... lower body. So again, there is an advantage to having a certain degree of speed on this thing. Now we have hydraulics, so I should maybe be willing to drop the hydraulics just to see. Okay, all of these are going to have some kind of a consequence. So I'll put the basic reactor in and remember that it's 1588. Wait, that doesn't help. Ah, great. That's exactly what I was looking to do. Okay, so this allows me to do an apples-to-apples comparison now. Okay, so I can put these Asgard legs on. I can, wait. So I drop my mass just a hair. Heat dissipation takes a bigger hit. So let's give this a shot. And I do still have a mobility subsystem. So 1533 is something I'm willing to live with, so I will go for the beefier legs. Left arm, so sort of a same story here. Hollowed plating, so it's going to be a tough act to follow anyway. Actually, maybe what we do is we do the same trick. We remove the hollowed plating. Okay, that's probably the exact same thing. 201's pretty skinny for a shielded arm, but... right arm, we'll do the... In this case, targeting sensor right isn't going to really move the needle that much, but let's try and keep consistent. So again, we're going to see if we can find any obvious upgrades. Most of this is going to have to be given up. Most of this we give up mass. I don't think I'm quite ready to go that far. Let's, for the sake of the argument, see what an Asgard would get me. So I got onto 1403 off of that, which I'm not quite comfortable with. So instead, I have a few options. So capacitors would help me with the heat, but I think the thing is that we actually get rid of heat quite quickly. And so I'm a little more inclined to go for the sensor. As silly as it sounds, the targeting sensor actually makes this machine gun quite fearsome, especially given the concussive damage that it does. So, of course, the last step is just to make sure that there isn't a better shield. There isn't, and I'd be reluctant to check for better machine guns, but... Okay, yep, we're fine. So, livery again. Now, the question on this one would be, do I go for the fearsome look, or do I go for... Like, one of them's got to be colorful. I traditionally have had some kind of bubblegum blueberry. The question is, do I make that the shotgunner, or do I make that the machine gunner? Let's go for the officer on this one. But I'm gonna have to figure out something really wild for the gun. Let's open something a little more gold. Oh, got it. Okay, so there's going to be some big changes for the Lance. So first thing we're going to do is give it a shotgun. Okay, and again, same story as before. We try and see if we've got any specific upgrades that we want to apply, and then move our way down. So we've already got the most fearsome torso we can put on this thing. Apparently I went down the middle road for the low guy again. Honestly, let's try... maybe we give this guy a sidestep instead. Just try and get a little more speed out of this one, because it's going to be walking most of the time anyway. I'll stick with the overdrive for now. We went for composite plating. That's probably why the other torsos don't compare so well. So let's strip that and see if we've got... Yeah, not really. So I suppose the alternative would be we can say, well, we went for composite. What if we do... So composite gives me 1403. 1209. So basically I just got a bunch more survivability. I don't know. That's 2 units though. It's... The difference isn't that big. Yeah, we'll stick with the basics. So last step, integrity 85 for 444. Now again, weight isn't as big of a deal on this one. So let's maybe see what my most fearsome integrity is. Okay, 85. Yeah, you know what? We're just going to stick with that head. Lower body. So medium legs right now. The Asgard will give us more strength. So excellent hydraulics. So let's maybe spike that just so we can do a proper comparison. You know... So we're about the same, but we've got a lot more, survivability. So let's see if we can stick with that. So excellent regenerator on a machine that's not using any regeneration. Okay, so unless we've got hollowed plating to throw in, I don't see... So the problem here is if I switch to any of these arms, we give up a lot of... we give up a lot of speed, and I don't really have any ways of... Well, that's got a mobility subsystem. That's a 213 though, so... This has promise, though. Yeah, so we just went up to 13 off of that. So this is the left arm. This is the one that can afford to be a little bit weak because of the shield. So right arm, this is the one that's holding the weapon. So I want to be a little sterner with what we've got. Now that's got a good heatsink in it right now, but that's taken up power. So we might be due for a big change here. So right now we've got 537. If I throw the Asgard on, so we're still at 12. We're actually a little faster than we were before, but we're a lot beefier. So I don't think we can afford to do the heatsink. I really not have any passive heat sinks? Okay, I wouldn't have chosen this normally, but... Well, I guess the alternative... Actually, you know what? A range sensor might make sense here. Okay, not going to switch out that shield. And we already went for the shotgun. So, finally, the livery. Now, we already knew we were doing this. And in fact, I might even... Might even get a little exotic. So can we go for something really... really attention-getting on the right arm? I was honestly hoping for a little more iridescent, but... I'll break up the pattern a little bit. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Actually... It's unexpected, but I kind of like it. Okay, so almost done. Last thing we want to do is figure out what we want to do with our alternatives. So first thing I'm going to do is give this thing a melee weapon. Okay, so I need a right arm first. Let's go... I'm actually going to start with the lightest possible loadout. Okay, so the integrity falls here and it's the same mass. I can give it a defensive system. No barrier on it, so again, this is pretty much a waste of time. Now it gets the saber. Okay. What do I even want to do for the left? I guess the SMG or the Spark. SMG is clearly the superior option. Fine. So even though it's a little heavier, I still think it's the right call. So lower body, again, we're starting off on the premise of having the lightest possible set of options. And then we'll build from there. The Tsubasa is a bridge too far, I think. Well, you know what? Nah, not for... well... Let's commit to the idea. I can always change it later. Okay, so we've at least got equivalent mass. This one gives me better barrier generation, which is going to be important for how I build this thing. Okay, so one consideration I'm going to change is on any system that I can, we're going to try and go for a pretty high degree of regeneration. Now again, that can't come at the expense of weight. And I'm not messing around with any of these alternatives. Okay. So core. Now we can go for a regen core. Now the regen core, barrier regeneration. I don't know if that's for the system as a whole. So then I suppose the other alternative, the one that would give me the highest power overall, would be the overdrive. That also lowers the barrier regeneration by the largest. Okay, you know what? Again, I want this thing to move fast. And then we're going to put the best thrusters we can on them. So high performance, high heat output. So we also need to develop a way of dealing with the heat. And that can either be through heat sinks or capacitors. But in the case of the capacitor, I'm going to give back some of that heat that I lost. And again, we'll go for the lightest, highest value that we can get. So start with this 68. Okay, that's 69. Okay, so this is starting to shape into something that I want. So let's just make sure that we don't have... I kind of want this because of how ridiculous it looks, but no. Okay, lower body, can't really get any better... can't get any better defenses, and we did say Tsubasa, so yes, these things are already regenerating. Nox legs, again, we give up too much. Otherwise, right arm, same story again. It would be nice if we had regen, but we don't. Okay, that was straightforward. That upper body actually looks a little cold. You know what? I think I'm actually just going to switch the all parts to... what do we call this thing? Unit. Oh, I'm so bad at naming things. I'll call it the wind. TBD. So I'm really worried this thing's going to get annihilated in the first fight that it goes into, but... Okay, so... The other big advantage of what I just did is that it lets me clean out the nonsense in my... whatever, my inventory. So I think we'll keep the cluster. There's a few of these things I'll still hang on to. I'm not crazy about the snail. Honestly, the snail doesn't do enough damage, so... Okay, we'll keep the incendiary repeater because it's the only type that we have. Now, I'm not so sure about these machine guns. So they're all level 3. I think we can afford to get rid of one at least. There's a slightly lighter version. Scatter's a bit worse. Did you... Oh, detach. So one's better concussive, one's better... Yeah, okay. I don't want to be too strict on some of the stuff that's higher level. I'm really not sure how I feel about keeping this Valen around, but it is one of my better shields. The stance, on the other hand, I suspect we're probably not going to need. Okay, I'm actually a little worried that I just took some of this stuff off my... Okay, nope, they're all equipped. Okay, yeah, we won't worry about the shotgun quite yet, but I am eventually gonna take this out. You know what? Let's just learn to let it go. And actually, at this point, let's just say anything that's not low. Sorry, that's going to have consequences for components. Okay, all this is fine. Subsystems. My god. Okay, let's just sort this by level. Actually, yeah, this will be easier. Not quite ready to give up these, so I gotta be a little more careful. I'm never gonna put left-hand side versions of these things. I'm a little worried about giving up so many thrusters, but we did just pick a whole bunch, so... Against my better judgment, I think I'm going to spike everything that's less than that's 3 or smaller. All right. So why go through all this trouble? Well, it's because, one, we've got an upgrade tree, and then number 2, we can start building new weapons as well. So we've got workshop, parallel printing, advanced assembly. No, I'm mostly interested in stuff that will improve the capabilities. So we've got improved generation, cruise sensing. Cruise sensing is much more useful, as is cruise speed, actually. So let's start with the sensing, then we'll go for the speed. So if I want better sensors, we need stealth sensing. Okay, that's fine. I can live with that. Everything else is too expensive. Well, we could get more smoke charges, but I don't like. I'm not doing this specifically to use up my my resources. I'm doing this to improve the HQ. The reason I've been doing the upgrade path that I have is because there are some improvements that have a cost. So a good example of this would be Or did they change this? I know there's one that gives you like more space for mechs. Yeah, here we go. So expanded storage makes space for new units on the base by moving some of the internal systems out of the way. Reinforcements to relocated equipment increases the base's weight, decreasing the speed slightly. And if you keep going down this path, you'll see reductions in terms of the speed. Now, there can be advantages to that. Being able to deploy a lot of different units allows you to be more versatile in your approach, but your ability to move around is kind of important in this game. So right now I've been focusing on things that don't have a cost, and then the reason why I went down these paths, first of all, sensing is pretty important in terms of getting an idea of where I want to hit next, but also it's going to allow me to do these upgrades to things like military grade sensors. I'm pretty sure the rest of these are not going to... Yeah, so in these cases, there's not going to be that much of a... There's not going to be that much of a problem to bring them in other than just the costs. And then improved regeneration will eventually go, rapid ignition. These sorts of things are nice to haves, but they're not as central to how I've been playing the game. So that was a lot that we went through, obviously, but in my opinion, definitely worth it. Now, eventually what I'm going to want to do is to fashion some upgrades. In this case, yeah, that's fine. I didn't think that would... Combat, distance, utility. Interesting. There used to be, I thought there was an option here in terms of determining rarity. Hold or double click to spend resources to begin building. Work will not start. So maybe I need a better... Oh, there we go. So apparently I can't choose quality on thrusters. Okay, but I can do it for reactors. Ah, but we need the experimental assembly for that. Interesting. Okay, so in order to build better gear... Right. Okay, cool. Well, that's fine. I'm okay pulling things off of the enemy. So, all of that work out of the way. We're still going to employ our strategy. We're going to take out the battle site first. What I'm probably going to do is a bit of a zigzag pattern. So I'm going to take this battle site, this convoy, this battle site, and then this camp. And this is just because of things that are taking time. But the one thing we can sort of afford to do is rush. Troublemakers, your contact in the home army said that while the home army is busy with a battalion elsewhere, they don't have enough mechs on the ground to deal with this pesky fire team. We're on top of them now, an engineer shouts in front of the base. What do you want to do, boss? A pilot asks. We're ready to fight if you are. All right, we'll suit up. A lot of warnings. High fatigue. Okay. I'm not opposed to switching out the pilots. Okay, assisted. Team up with your allied forces and eliminate all hostiles. Your team is large but inflexible, so be prepared for anything. Reserves, a mix of reserve troops led by an oddball elite specialists. Still counts as very hard. Now, this isn't quite the same... These aren't the same numbers that we had to deal with last time, so... I'm going to kind of clear the decks as far as mechs. I definitely want to bring out the new mech. And I feel like the Sleipnir is kind of a must-have. So I want to test the new shotgun on the Lance. So the question is, do I bring the Bull or do I bring the Ray? There is a mild temptation for the marksman rifle on the Ray, but let's go for the Bull this time. Okay. Ooh, yeah. So I'm sure there's like an experience system and all of that that's going to be added in relatively soon that would maybe make me make some different decisions. But they've fought enough. I know we've got 21 deployments. Yeah, we've got one with 25. But I think we'll break the streaks. All right, look at these handsome mechs. Game was already expressing its opinion on my chances. Dropping in. Command is getting impatient. Let's get this over and done with. Okay. So first thing we want to do is take a look at what we're up against. So we got a machine gun, shotgun, 2 shotguns. Okay, this is actually going to be really hard for the melee unit if people get on top of them. The good news is it looks like they're not target. Oh my god! I am going to put on a show for you. Oh, oh god. I am going to have some fun. All right. Oh, wow. We overheat. Good lord. All right. That's going to make things interesting. So clearly I need to go back to the mech lab with this melee unit. Okay, so if I just run around the edge like this. Okay, not exactly how I wanted to do it, but my hope here is that, well, you know what, let's see if we can wait a little bit longer. Basically, we just sweep in and take out like 4 units. Nope, not going to happen that way. So this thing's got a cannon. So what I want to do with this melee unit is... run around the side of the house. Or not. Okay, it doesn't let me move at all. Alright, well this is going to get really interesting for this unit. Let's see what we can do as an alternative. I'll probably redirect the tanks when I can. What I want to focus on now is, are there ways that I can redirect the enemy fire, especially because this is the Sleipnir? Is there a way I can redirect enemy fire into their own units? So what we can do here, we'll move. So for instance, if I move like this, okay, so that does a really good job of pointing straight at me. So what's another alternative? Well, we run a little bit further along. Okay, and all that really accomplishes is giving them a full shot on me. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to run the other way, and it's just going to mean that we're able to. It just means that we're able to like draw their fire and like the aim of this is just going to be they're wasting their turn chasing after something that they can't get. Although I do need to make sure I don't clobber my own unit. That's actually going to make it a little tricky. I think I can get... Yeah, I am not crazy about my Sleipnir taking fire like that. What if I just dash it? That's even worse. Okay. Look, I don't feel good about the option, but at least it's... Well, okay, actually there's one other alternative, which is I just hide here. So I'm definitely going to need to move the tank. But I actually think that has a little more potential, because then I just peek around the corner and start shooting. Okay. Next thing I want to do is bring the machine gunner into play. And if I have to, I'll even use a... I'll even use a dash. Yeah, I feel a little weird about my choice to do it this way. It does have a shotgun. Okay. Right now I'm kind of experimenting, but... Okay, so the threat's gone to them, so we're going to move around the side. God. The hill works both ways, it seems. Okay, we're just going to keep running through that. So again, I'm not 100% sure how I feel about how this turn is shaping up, but... Oh, this thing's rocking an autocannon. This will not be too helpful. Well, no, we got something we can do. Okay, this is a long-range weapon. I'm not entirely sure this is going to help too much, but if I can get it in a good position, we might be able to do something with it next turn. So one thing that I am going to want to do here, I do also want to move I want to move Whiskey in for some big hits, because they've also got a big shotgun that that causes fearsome damage. And apparently blows out there. Okay, I really need to think about my heat capacity on these mechs. I'm delighted that they're that. I'm delighted that they're that tough, but that's actually going to cause some problems for me. I don't think this tank's really going to do all that much this turn, but I am going to bring him out in the open. Okay. I'm just going to do one last check for any embarrassing collisions. Looks like we're in okay shape, so we kind of know... We know the move we're really looking for tonight, so... Let's lock it in. The one unit I don't want taking damage. This thing better hit like a truck, otherwise we are in deep trouble. Ah! Okay, so this unit is screwed. Let's watch that on the replay, shall we? So that unit lost its arm. That unit was completely incapacitated. Hey, and the good songs coming up. Well, they're all good songs, but... Okay. By what seems like a miracle, this unit is not being targeted by any major mechs. So I'm actually going to run behind the building for this. But yeah, so just to account what that one melee attack did. So Striker's inactive. The leader is reduced to an SMG. This unit wasn't touched, although it is currently crashing, so I'm gonna need to deal with that. Yeah, that was a good turn, let's say. This unit's doing nothing, so in this case, the tank's just gonna do its thing. Now, for some reason, this unit's decided to move in a completely different direction. Now, I can kind of see why it wants to do that, because it is currently under attack. Oh, I see why. I bet I can still make this work, though. How in the world... Oh, no, I see it. Okay. Ah, yes. Okay. So the AI actually had some good ideas here. I naturally have better ideas. This one's actually not doing anything, so that's not the right thing to target. Okay, so I suppose the next question is, can I get a good angle on this unit? I'm not above going to the high ground if I have to. Alright, not my favorite choice, but I think it works. So we're gonna have to figure out what we want to do with the Sleipnir. It does look like they're targeted by a few different units. Now this thing's rocking a machine gun, so I do not want to mess. I do not want to mess around with that. I may be able to get out of range, but I think that also has other consequences. I have a sneaking suspicion that I may actually wind up knocked down again. Okay, so you know what? This is not... like, this is a Sir Robin strategy, but... I think I'm just going to sit and take it. I'm just going to fire pot shots at this unit. So what I want to do here is see how long I can... Okay, so that looks like the best angle I can get on it. Yeah, so I'm protected from the machine gunner. So yeah, in this case, we're just going to hit that. That is not the right mech. Okay, so what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to stand and fire. And as soon as this thing's actually able to get up and defend itself, I'm just going to run around the corner. In fact, there's no point in even... Yeah, that'll work. The other thing I'm thinking is with my melee unit... So its heat's already going to be taken care of. So why not go for seconds? Okay, I've got a shotgunner who is ready to cause misery. Now what's probably most prudent for me here is to get the shield up. So the one thing I want to do is find everything that's targeting this unit and... Okay, I'm a little weirded out. That's totally the wrong guy. All right, there we go. So yeah, the idea here first is to protect myself from this unit. It's an SMG. So yeah, there's actually a couple questions here about what's the most fearsome unit for me to deal with right now. It is to my advantage if I sort of dance with this unit and not let it... Actually, you know what? This guy is a pipsqueak, so we just throw up our shield and bash into him. I don't actually quite understand why there isn't a collision marker coming up on that. Okay, there's no possible way that's anything but a collision. So we'll fire the shotgun of misery. Again, this guy's going to be firing at me, so I want to stay behind this hill, but if I get a chance to go into interesting places and eliminate enemy units, I want to do that. Alright, that's almost certainly going to... Yeah, I do not want to kill my pilot in the cockpit, so I will just throw up my shield dutifully, and we'll maybe get in a little closer for the retaliation. Okay, so this machine gunner is going to kind of keep doing its thing. But I suppose there's an open question in terms of how they spend the rest of their turn. Now, there's going to be a collision if I just keep them where they are, so let's just... Oh, really? Come on, game! Stay put. So one thing I'll slightly change here is I'll move up. I think that's going to save me the crash. Oof. There is a little bit of danger of friendly fire there, but I think I'm going to have to live with it. Yeah, I'm actually not feeling really good about the health of that that tank, but okay. Interestingly enough, that doesn't seem to provoke a lot of heat. So I think I'm just going to stay put and work with that. Please stop hurting my own... Worth it. We'll review that turn, but... Okay, we'll watch... I'm going to do that all in slow-mo for start, but... So maybe we'll start sort of in the center cluster here. So shield up against this guy. And one of the reasons why I wanted that machine gunner to be focusing on them is I wasn't 100% sure where this thing was going to stand still. But we do get to turn our attention. It does look like it was... Oh, maybe it didn't do that much damage to it after all. I was hoping it would, but... Now this thing's still going strong, but it looks like we were able to take out the gears on both tanks, so these things are going to be sitting ducks. And again, the fact that we were able to take this unit out... Like this thing is terrifying as long as you you keep it protected. But definitely my experience with melee units is that they tend to get caught out in bad positions pretty frequently. So I'll watch the thing in full speed just one more time because I like the way this game looks. Okay. So, first things first, we got to find a way to protect this melee unit until it's ready. So I think we can use the buildings as cover. The big problem here is how do I best position this unit? So I know I can be covered by the buildings. That's not a huge worry. What I am worried about though is how do I get them in play? Because if I just run them after this kind of a unit here, there's going to be a whole turn where they sort of see them barreling down and, potentially they take a bunch of damage that way. So in this case, I'm actually just going to stay put. Now, the good news is that there's tons of other things that I can do with my existing units. So this unit with an autocannon's still crashing. I'm probably more inclined to focus on them. There is a temptation to put the herd on this mech, but I think in this case here, finishing off the enemy tanks is probably the right call. I don't think I'm going to be able to get a second one in. Yeah, not without overheating. So that should also have some bearing on how I'm going to handle the rest of the turn. So one thing I can do, for instance, is get a nice shot. Oh, I thought I was going to be able to get a nice shot on the back, but I can't. So we're going to realign. In this case, I'll just take my machine gun and we'll clear out the second of those tanks. Not the most exciting use for this unit, but it happens to be something they're capable of. Although I am a little worried about the dotted line I'm seeing. Machine gun takes a long time to fire, so like there's wasted time in the middle there. But I'll live with it. Okay, now, my lance. The one thing that weirds me out a little bit is that this thing is set as, doing 801 damage in a full volley, but it looks like there's only 200 damage on this tank here, right? So I have a couple options. I think the way I'm going to handle it... Well, start the turn... Wait, what? Oh, wow. Okay, I think I know where the problem is. Okay, yeah, that's not happening. So that will hopefully do enough damage to make it worthwhile. Like I said, I'm definitely going to have to reconsider some of these designs. Now, the Sleipnir is kind of free at the moment. So I guess the question is, what tank do I fear the most? That thing's got a machine gun. This thing's a cannon. So on my way, I'll maybe take that one out, and then the rest will spend on... Ugh! Okay, too hot. Vanguard Master, how you doing? Streaming's going all right. I'm on the last mission of tonight, but I think I'm really happy to be back in Phantom Brigade. I got my like one big surprise play of the day with my my mech with a big sword. It took out like 2 or 3 units in one hit. So I figure as long as I get one of those, it's usually a pretty good Phantom Brigade night. Okay, so what I want to do here is see... I don't think I have any hope of making things happen this turn, but maybe next turn we might be able to get a good cannon shot into the back of that mech. I guess we already accounted for this unit, so I think that's everybody spoken for. Dodge this. That's a little more like it. And 48% concussion. That is something I'm going to have to keep in touch with. This is wild, by the way. Okay, good. I'm just hoping that we can get that machine gun off the board soon too. Okay, that was lucky with the Sleipnir. So this we get to focus on this cannon. And then as far as the SMG, ugh. Okay, pilot's out. There's going to be a longer period of time while they're shooting, so that tank's probably destroyed, but... Command of the base is circled around the perimeter. We're ready to pick the squad up if needed. The enemy will hold the site if you do so. Okay. Taking heavy fire. I sent word to command that we've lost units. Now, I don't think I've ever seen that in this game before. Now, unfortunately, it looks like this... for all the speed this unit has, I'm actually quite surprised at how slow it seems to move. I have a plan, but... So I'm probably going to ride pretty high on the heat for this this particular unit. Looks like it does want to target my own tank. The Sleipnir is definitely going to focus on this unit. Okay, so that's taken care of. I do have sort of a bit of freedom as far as this unit's concerned. Okay, so what if we just don't move you at all? Ah. The AI definitely had the better plan. It's a complete Hail Mary at this point, but... So if I just stay put, I definitely prefer staying put. And this thing's already knocked out, so frankly we just move ahead. So I do want to make sure we open fire once my allied unit is clear. I wait for the attack. So take it on my shield. And, I mean, I'd probably shotgun it, except that we're probably already wiping this unit out. And scrap is a thing in this game, so... I am a little worried about friendly fire from that cannon. Yeah, you know what? Let's not get too clever. I'm not 100% sure what happened there. Well, we got what we needed. So let's just check that replay again. So I guess it tripped over the... I guess it tripped over the body. Either way, though, so essentially we just took the machine gun at close range, and that was sufficient to take out the... the part. So really at this point, this is just a question of getting people out of any kind of danger or fire zone. So in particular here, I want to try and get this unit behind a hill as quickly as possible. I don't think this unit is going to survive, but we can do our best. Who doesn't have orders? Yeah, that's fine. Well, we took out the lower body, so this is probably just going to extend it another turn. Cool. So very hair-raising as far as our melee unit was concerned, but... Oh, that's interesting. That's definitely not what happened. Enemy is just ejected. Yeah. So I'm intrigued by some of these messages popping up, because it seems to suggest that there's going to be a little bit more like comms chatter in the middle of the fights in the final version. I'm definitely in favor of that. So we've got 150 scrap to run with. Usually what I'll do here is just, you know, pick up everything that I can and start kicking things out. So I don't think that Hurricane is much of an improvement. So let's maybe start by scrapping that. Well, yeah, this is definitely the better Hurricane. So in fact, we can maybe just drop it entirely. A lot of light. So some of this stuff, just keeping like the empty plating would be enough. Well, clearly I can't keep it all, so... So yeah, as much as I like the empty plating, let's abandon that. 354. Okay, we just need 5 now. Yeah, so we'll scrap that, and we can probably scrap... Yep. There's a slight change I might make, so that's worth 35. They're both worth 35, but this is worth 40. Cool. I suspect there is quite a bit of repairing to do. I don't remember if I asked you this before, but have you played Endless Space 2, or is it on your radar to eventually play? I loved the original Endless Space when I played it. I do have Endless Space 2. I actually also have all the DLC for it. Now, I've got to confess, for one reason or another, I've not spent the kind of quality time that I have in Endless Space 2 that I have in games like Civilization or even the original Endless Space. And to be honest with you, I can't quite answer why. It might even just be that I've been a little busy. But yeah, it is a game I'm familiar with, and it's one that I would kind of like to say I'm more familiar with than I actually am. But it is one that I'll confess has been sort of on the to-do list perpetually, and I've never really... I think, okay, actually, here's the big thing. Endless Space 2 is different from the original game, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But because it's different... What I've noticed is that I think I keep saying, okay, I'm going to do, I'm going to get it next time, or I'm going to try, I'm going to try this thing, at some point in the future or whatever. And then the future never comes. So it is definitely one I want to check out, but I've never done it on stream, so maybe it's one I'll try on stream at some point. I would also like to try Humankind. I know there's very strong opinions about it not being a very good game, but the thing is, for most 4X games, I usually tend to want to figure it out for myself anyway as to whether or not I like it. So a good example of this would be Slytherin's game, Warhammer 40k Gladius, I think. There's some things about it that I actually think are pretty neat. It's a very wargamey kind of approach to sort of 4X, and there hasn't really been a 4X style 40k game, so I was expecting it's something a little bit different in terms of 4X style, but I don't dislike the way that they approached it. There are a couple things about how it gets handled in the late game that I sometimes struggle with, but it's a little bit... I don't know if you read the article that I wrote on Whiplash, but there's sort of a point that I made about how the reviewer handled that game, or not that movie, and it basically just said, like, at a certain point, you kind of need to decide whether or not you're on board with whatever sort of story or whatever experience the filmmaker has in store for you. So the reviewers seemed to take it rather personally that the movie was not into the kind of jazz he was into, and thought that that was a signal that the filmmakers didn't really know what they were talking about. Now, I think a lot of his examples are really bad. I think it's pretty clear that there's something that just rubbed him the wrong way, and he was not going to like that movie no matter what. But the reason why I give that example, right, is that if I sit down and play a given, 4X game, I think the perfect example of this actually is Dawn of War 3. There is I think a very unfortunate consensus on that game game was a failure. And now commercially, I think it's fair to say, it definitely did not meet expectations and they didn't continue to develop it. So if it's just a statement commercially, that's fine. But that's not where people limit it. People consider that game a failure as a game. And I'm not really sure that that's justified. And in fact, I would suggest that at least in terms of trying to do what Relic has always done, in terms of trying to push for RTS into different directions and not just simply reheat the the game they made previously, I think it's very much following in that tradition, and I think it did some interesting things that at least deserve some attention. Now, in the end, if you play a game and you don't like it, no argument is going to convince you otherwise, nor should you be convinced otherwise. You just play the stuff that you're into. But at least in terms of my own framing, I generally kind of try to sit down and see if I can get on the same page with where the game is. And some stuff, I know I'm not going to care for. Some things I just think there are fundamental design decisions that I am not compatible with. Rust is a perfect example of that. But for the most part, I do like to try and, not ignore the consensus view, let's say, but it's nice if I can, it's nice if I can come to a game and sort of say, okay, let's see what they're trying to do here. And if it doesn't really gel, that's fine. I don't need to keep playing it. But generally especially because Amplitude has already done some games that I enjoy. So, I really liked Endless Space. I spent a lot of time in Dungeon of the Endless for a while. I'm actually not very good at it anymore, I noticed. And I've spent a little time in Endless Legend, and again, I've spent a bit of time in Endless Space too. But they clearly can clearly deliver on games that I enjoy, and I like 4X style games, so I would be interested in seeing Humankind through to the end. But I do also kind of need to accept that, it's generally if people kind of go out and say, I was hoping for a Civ alternative, and this really didn't deliver. I don't think that comes from nowhere. It's just I'd be interested in seeing, is this a case where Amplitude wanted to try and do something interesting and it didn't deliver on the execution, or was this just maybe not such as good of an idea as it seemed at the time, and this thing was never going to work? Because there are games like that. But again, it's nice to focus on the positive. That's a really, really long answer for just saying that I wish I knew Endless Space 2 better than I did. I'm familiar, but not overly so. And to be honest, I couldn't actually express an opinion between whether I prefer it to Endless Space or not. But I do want to spend some time with it. Anyways, I'm sure there was a reason you were asking that, Vanguard Master. I am going to be wrapping up for tonight, but feel free to ask your question while I'm doing my finale. So I will just say, for those of you who are looking for a bit more progress in the game, I do apologize. I know I had a big kind of rant about Twitch numbers and things like that, but I'm actually really happy to be back on this game. And I also really like the fact that I got to spend some quality time with my mech designs, particularly because the mechs were overheating. And that sounds like a really weird thing to be happy about, but what it means is that I have some material to go back to the mech lab with and see if I can maybe put some put some refinements on the style, and see if there's a way that I can kind of create my ideal, let's say. And of course, I mean, there's plenty of stuff. The other thing too is that I can just say, okay, you know what, that experimental melee unit, I want to love this thing, but man, we gotta tone it down a bit and just boost the heat capacity or something like that. Either way, though, like I said, it's nice. I like running into problems like that because I do sometimes feel like I got very set in my ways as far as Phantom Brigade's concerned. I'm probably never going to field a very heavy squad. I just don't think I have it in me to do that. But I'm also very encouraged to know that we probably have an update coming reasonably soon, and we may see some more pilot material before too long. Either way, though, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where this game goes, and I don't know if there's a date yet for release, but I wouldn't be surprised if that comes out reasonably soon. If nothing else, for those of you who want to give this a shot, do join the Brace Yourself Games Discord if you haven't already, because I do know that they're going to be doing a second round of Steam testing, and I think that's going to be a good chance for you to try this experience yourself. Also, you're going to be able to play a considerably more featured version of this game than when I first tried it. So it's I definitely think it's going to be a lot of fun, particularly for people who've never tried it before. And Vanguard Master says, you haven't played Endless Space, but you have played Endless Space 2, and you've had difficulties with it where you always seem to be on the back foot. I like watching you play 4X and seeing a different approach to see if there's something I can learn from your playthrough. No. Well, I like that stuff, right, Vanguard Master? Because, like, this is the thing. Like, there's a lot of reasons for me to get cranky about backseating. But one of the biggest reasons why I get annoyed at it is that I don't think I'm ever going to be able to make a claim to being like the best streamer at a game. Because like to me, to a certain extent, I don't even know if I have a clear idea of what it means to be quote unquote good at a video game. But what I do like to do is to sort of wrestle with a game and come to terms with it on my own, on my own terms. Even if something's blindingly obvious to someone, or if it's something that's covered in a tutorial and I just missed it in that tutorial, I think there's a lot of value in trying to find your own way with a game, to understand its systems and to try and take your own approach. And every once in a while, I'll fall onto a type of play style. And what I tend to find is that there will be the occasional messages in chat like, oh, I had no idea, or I didn't know you could do that, or oh, hey, I'm going to have to try that next time. And I love moments like that because it's an opportunity to have discovered something inside the game that, maybe you never knew existed before. And the thing is that if I just follow what everybody else is doing, I cut myself off from the ability to do that. So as much as I can, I try to preserve something of an independent streak. Now, in the end, if I really want to get better at a game, there is going to have to be a point at which I understand how other people, at which point I need to understand how other people are playing it. But I think there's a lot of value in doing that after, approaching the game yourself and seeing how you figure out. Because it also tells you a little something about how you learn. To be able to look at, okay, I'm running into this problem. I always seem to be running out of money. I guess in the case of Endless Space 2, they've got that FIDSy system. So, I'm always running out of food, or I'm always running out of dust. But I also like your commentaries on the economies of 4X games when you played it. When I watched your Stellaris videos, it was insightful just to listen to your take on how the game and the economy works and the parallels to our own. Yeah, I didn't even stop doing that necessarily because I didn't. It's just it's weird for me in the sense that if I say one thing, I kind of feel it's been said and it gets too repetitive if I repeat it again. But the thing is I know not everybody's seen everything I've ever done. And generally people aren't that bothered by hearing repetitive stuff. Like sometimes I get over myself and I do repeat the same material. But that is actually something that I probably didn't highlight as much as I should have. And there's absolutely other games that can do that. So yeah, I mean, Endless Space 2 is a good example. One other thing I was thinking about, I didn't realize that this game had come out, but Two Point Campus is actually something I'm really interested in as well. So there's a few different ways that we can approach that. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in Endless Space 2. I have no idea when I'm going to get around to it, because as far as 4X games, I do want to go back to that Imperium's Greek Wars game. But, feedback like that's always helpful for me because it gives, like, I'll put it to you this way, like, if you're going to watch the stream and you'll get something out of Endless Space 2, why not do that? Right? Because there's some people who just watch and they want to watch me play a game. It has nothing to do with what game is being played. Maybe some people really do want to see Endless Space 2. If there are some people who genuinely do not want to see Endless Space 2, maybe I need to keep that in mind. But at the moment, like, that sort of feedback is helpful because it's a game that I own and it's something that I have been interested in covering at some point. So we'll see. I'll give it a look, Vanguard Master. I can't make any promises, but I do appreciate feedback like that because it does help me sort of calibrate where I'm going to go with other stream stuff. But I did say I was going to be wrapping up, so thank you everybody for watching Phantom Brigade. This is going to be the game that we play on stream for the next few weeks, I think. I may jump back into Industries of Titan a little earlier than expected if they wind up doing a new patch, but I think Phantom Brigade was probably the game that had like kind of went off of the monthly update cycle first. So I wouldn't be surprised if they had a patch out first. So we'll spend some time with Phantom Brigade for a bit. We will be back to Industries of Titan when I can. And then as far as Friday's concerned, I think I said I had a slight preference for Quake. No promises. I might do Out There. Instead. Sorry, just trying to see if I can find somebody to raid. I've got somebody I'm interested in, but tell you what, I'm just going to quit to desktop because I want to see if I can hear this stream. The problem is the last time I hosted somebody like this, they didn't have their mic on, and they basically said they weren't going to change it. You know what? Let's give this a try. But yeah, for Friday, I will try either Quake or Out There. Monday, we'll be back to Old World, hopefully finishing the second of the Carthage scenarios. Wednesday, and of course, we already talked about Wednesday. Thank you very much, Takri. It's always nice. I actually really appreciate the likes and the retweets and that. And Vanguard, I know I need to get back to you on the. Actually, let me see. I do need to do some writing tonight, but I'll see if I can wrap up stuff for your. It's actually been a little while since I've worked on that since we last spoke, so I'm gonna see if I can maybe put the feedback to bed. I'm sorry, I'm behind on that now, just because I blew it. But I am gonna host Lucinix. So the only caution that I had was that they're about two and a half hours into their stream and it had 0 and they didn't seem to have the music on. So I'm a little worried that they may just not talk. They may just not be talking on stream and that's why they're at 0. But honestly, like, let's not prejudge. Hopefully it's somebody who's just looking to find their feet on Industries of Titan. And more importantly, I would like to show some support to some more Brace Yourself games. Sadly, nobody was doing Phantom Brigade, but we'll work with that. But Takri, Vanguard Master, Jetpack. I know there's a number of you probably have gone to bed. Who else did we obviously had Immortal in here a little bit before. Olaf, you may be still kicking around. And you know, for those of you who aren't chatting, I really do appreciate you coming out and watching some Phantom Brigade. Hopefully, it's tickled somebody's fancy, and Brace Yourself will continue to be a going concern for many more years, and not just because of Crypt of the Necrodancer. But I will leave you in hopefully the capable hands of Lucinix. Again, I can't vouch for their stream, but hopefully, maybe with a few more bodies, they'll be able to engage with Industries of Titan in an interesting and productive manner. I hope you all have a good evening and no rush to publish. Okay, cool. Thank you, Vanguard. And again, if I say I'm going to do something, I want to do it reasonably promptly. It's just, I've definitely been kind of waylaid by a few different things, but let's see if I can maybe close off tonight. Have a good night, everybody. I hope you enjoy the Industries of Titan stream.